Here I am, Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor, live tonight. And we move on with the fastest, most rapid moving administration in the history of the world, I think. This weekend, I actually sent him a note saying it's time to take your 6 month vacation. He's already had more press conferences than Biden had ever. Now, Biden did do a lot of executive actions, but they were easy. He just took all the things Trump did and said, no. He wrote down, no, 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 no. Trump's executive actions have been considerably more positive. In fact, this is remarkable. Hard to believe. I'll tell you what's not hard to believe, though. The way the Democrats are turning on someone who was one of their own, who made a change from as a matter of principle. And if you read his book, which of course I don't expect the Democratic politicians to, they don't read bills, as Nancy Pelosi told us. If you don't read a bill, which you have to read as a matter of your oath, why the hell are they going to read a book? Nancy Pelosi told us, well, let's get this through now. We can read it later. I don't know why she considered so smart. She lost a house for them twice. Twice. It would be like making Trump into a big hero if he had lost this election. I mean, blew it once, or they cheated, and then second time he beat the crap out of them. She got a second chance, and she got destroyed because nobody likes her, and her people get very, very distrustful of someone who has no natural body parts on their face. RFK testified today before the United States Senate. RFK 10, the Senate Democrats -3. He made a case that he has disagreements with the president, but the disagreements are not in the area in which he is operating with as a matter of expertise. In the areas that just don't matter, it's just ignored. And in the area in which he has expertise, should there be a disagreement, of course, the will of the president prevails. It sounds pretty good to me, and I also like the idea of the president getting contrary advice. When I put together my first administration as mayor, a mayor has deputy mayors and a chief of staff. So, they vary from anywhere from a low of 3 to a maximum of 8. Usually the people who have 8 don't want to work very much. Adams has 8. I had 4 and a chief of staff who effectively is like a deputy mayor. I had a Republican conservative. I had a Republican more middle of the road. I had 2 Democrats, one slightly left, one slightly right, and a member of the Liberal Party who was left. Every time I had a big issue like gay marriage or domestic partnership or workfare, can you require people to work? And I knew I had a very, very broad cross section of views because I also encouraged my deputy mayors and advisors to give me their advice. What the hell did I have them there for? I don't have a weak ego. I'm not real upset if you tell me I'm wrong, unless I think you're stupid, in which case we can have a hell of a debate. But none of them were stupid. And when they disagreed with me, they all had good reasons, even when I disagreed with them. And when they were sometimes a little reluctant to disagree with the beginning, I would play law professor. What does that mean? I had a great law professor who since passed away, Professor Childress. And he was brilliant, particularly at the beginning of law school, of getting you to give an argument about a contracts case and then ripping you apart. Everything what you said was wrong. And then he'd call on somebody else and say, well, you state the case. And that person would just adopt exactly what the professor said, like kissing his you know what. And then the professor would rip him apart. And then he'd rip the next person apart and then next person apart. And some of my colleagues didn't like the method because it differed so much from college where you took notes. That's when I knew I wanted to be a lawyer for the rest of my life. I loved it. I said, that's the whole point. He's teaching you to argue. He's teaching you to argue using reason. And he's showing you where you can attack, both sides of the argument. You're going to have to do that in court. Except, I wasn't allowed to do that for Donald Trump, which is why they took away the love of my life. I don't mean romantic. I mean professionally, being a lawyer. I thought being a lawyer was a tremendous advantage to me as a mayor. Of course, it was a tremendous advantage being a prosecutor too, but that's a bit silly. And I thought that in certain respects, I could make the argument that I had the best record of a certain kind of lawyer ever in terms of the significance of the cases that I individually prosecuted or supervised. Certainly tied. Tom Dewey got one mafia guy, Tommy Lucchese, who eventually, was let out of prison for good reason, by the way, to help in the Second World War. I got the whole damn organization here and in Italy. You don't know about the Italy part. And they disbarred me. They disbarred me for doing my job too well, which irritated them because it's hard for them to face the fact that they were persecuting an innocent man, Donald Trump, and now have proceeded to persecute all of the people around Donald Trump, including me. It's going to change, and they're doing it to Robert Kennedy. He made it quite clear that he has strong views. That he reminds me. Please, I can say this. I worked for his father as volunteer and as a young man. His father was a bigger hero to me than his uncle. Maybe because I like the tough principle guy who doesn't back down. I like the fact that Robert F. Kennedy didn't want Lyndon Johnson on the ticket because he was a damn crook. I understood the complexity of John Kennedy's mind, that he had to make that compromise in order to win Texas. And probably I like the balance of the two. But when I looked at Robert Kennedy, I saw the kind of man I wanted to be, a man of principle. John Kennedy wasn't far off from that. Maybe he was the better politician as a result of it. But having the balance of Robert Kennedy there was extraordinarily valuable. Also, when he got double-crossed by the CIA, to put the CIA virtually under his brother, who he could trust implicitly, was a source of tremendous strength, something that in the first term, President Trump didn't have, and had to do it on his own, which he did magnificently, but it made it more difficult. This administration, much more balanced. So I don't understand what the objections to him are, Ted. Do we have any representative? The questions he at one time they take out of context statements that he made in which he said he was against all vaccines. Now I don't know. I don't follow him enough to know if he did say that or if he said it out of an excess of hyperbole and or whatever. But the important thing is what he's saying now. It is, after all, under oath in front of the committee, and he is working for a boss that doesn't have isn't shy about firing you. And he said, "I'm now in favor of vaccines, except I will point out the vaccines that are for shit. By the way, COVID is not a vaccine. A vaccine prevents an illness." Don't let them change the words on you like George Orwell's 1984. Up until the vaccine didn't work, the vaccine was going to cure COVID. Biden even went on television and kept saying that it'll cure COVID, and if you don't take it, you're going to kill people. Within a few short weeks, it turned out that they were dead wrong. It did not cure COVID. People who took the vaccine got COVID. People who take the polio vaccine do not get COVID. And then it turned out that large numbers of people who took the vaccine got COVID, which means calling it a vaccine is a cruel joke. Next offense, it lessens the symptoms. The people who take the vaccine don't die as much. Implicit in that is that some of them do. And that was true. And therefore, it's a wonderful treatment. Well, now you just changed it, my friend, from a vaccine to a medicine designed to treat a disease, possibly treat just the symptoms, possibly treat the disease, but not prevent it. Antibiotics does not prevent another infection. It fixes, cures, helps, alleviates the infection that you have. That's what the vaccine now, they had to reduce it to. Considerably less valuable, by the way. And getting there required corruption of maybe one of the worst in American history, which his book explains bravely. Then it turns out now, when we look at the studies in Europe that didn't have the attachment to this vaccine that we do, there are scientists of great note who would make the argument that on balance, the vaccine was more dangerous than it was helpful. I do not know that to be true. I can't tell you it's true. I can't tell you it's false. I can tell you that by some percentage, not totally convinced, but by some percentage, Dr. Maria thinks, having looked at all of the data, I haven't looked at some, that on balance, it's caused more illness than it's cured. And that the idea that it had a stronger effect on COVID than if you didn't take it turned out to be wrong. That virtually, there was a period of time that she actually thought it was making it worse. I think now, on balance, looking at all the stats, she would say it was irrelevant. Well, irrelevant, but they all became billionaires and trillionaires. And Fauci was getting royalties for it. And Fauci has been getting royalties for so long, it goes back to 2014, that Biden has hid from us. So the guy who brought this out pretty much singularly is Robert F. Kennedy. That was a tough thing to do. He had to go right up against his own party. He had to go right up against the entirely powerful Washington-based lobbyists who are killers of the pharmaceutical industry. Is the pharmaceutical industry worse than the military-industrial complex in terms of dishonesty, phony tests, phony uses? I don't know. I don't think so, but pretty damn bad. And are they going after him because they own the Democrat Party? You're damn right they are. So let's listen to a little of today, if we can. All right.
When I spoke about with the federal investment in Medicaid, which is known as FMAP. I'm going to call it a restroom break.
President Trump has not told me that he wants to cut Medicaid. He's told me to make it better.
Do you support cutting, yes or no? Let me ask you this way, since it's only about President Trump.
I support making it better, Senator.
If President Trump asked you to cut Medicaid, will you do it?
Well, it's not up to me to cut Medicaid. It would be up to Congress. And
You don't
I'm
answer.
going to work.
Mr. Kennedy, you don't want to answer? I'll move on. Do you?
We got more examples.
It's nicer to be smarter than the congressman, but it doesn't mean very much.
Right. Yeah. Somebody mentioned that to you, right? You go.
Please don't insult me. You're smarter than the congressman. Please don't.
Yeah. But I think you would appreciate his opening Let's play his opening. Once Wyden's reacting to this, I'm going to give you a headset in a minute.
Put a
20
letter. I can
years
hear it too.
is to get on my knees and pray to God that he would put me in a position to end the chronic disease epidemic and to help America's children.
So we'll get you some headphones, Mayor. What he said was he gets on his knees every morning, prays to God, and thanks him for putting him in a position to help children facing chronic diseases.
Well, don't you have to grant some credit to that? People's always making that up. First of all, his mom went to mass every morning.
Yeah.
There was a period of time when I lived not terribly far from where they live in McLean, and we would go to the same church, except she would go all the time and I go occasionally. And and despite the fact that I was a Reagan appointee, she would very cordially say hello to me every morning when she saw me, including very, very, when I say very recently, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I have no idea why they think this is a bad thing. This is what was it Obama who made up the idea that he was going to do what Lincoln did and put in a team of rivals? Well, he didn't. He did not put in the people who ran against him. He lied. But Trump has put in a group of people. Some agree with him, some don't. Almost all of them have some level of disagreement with him. He and Rubio have. Rubio is more of an interventionist than Trump is, no question about it. Not completely different philosophy by degree. The Cent's view on the economy appears to me to be his own and similar to, but somewhat different than Trump's, what it should be. And we can go on and on with it. I mean, Attorney General is a little different because an Attorney General advice is constrained by interpreting the law for you. So she is going to end up disagreeing with him, as happens with every president. I saw that happen with Ronald Reagan, who was our greatest president. There were times in which the Attorney General, who was his best friend, William French Smith, and then probably one of his most loyal bureaucrats, Ed Meese, would have to go to him and say, "Mr. President, that's wrong. You can't do that." And it's hard to tell a president that, particularly one who's strong-willed. It's hard to tell a mayor that, particularly when he's a lawyer and he thinks he's smarter than you are. Sometimes I wasn't. Sometimes I was. So I don't know what the hell is going on with the New York Post. You know how I go back and forth with the New York Post. The New York Post, my relationship with the New York Post is a bad marriage, or I don't know, a volatile marriage, not a bad one. My relationship with the Wall Street Journal is a really bad marriage because they tend to be they tend to be self-important. We know everything. We've never done anything. We never fought a war. We never balanced the budget. We never ran a city, a state, or country. So the Post is more often on our side and right down to earth. And I even feel bad when I make fun of them because we don't have anybody, and it's nice that we have them. But I really do think this headline goes a little out of Senator's clear duty is to reject this menace. I think that Tom Homan is picking up menaces. I don't know, whatever you think of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I really don't think by modern standards he falls into the category of menace. And when I see you say that, it reduces the quality of your argument and my respect for it. So then I even question some of the things you put in that I'm not sure of, because you're obviously not being a reporter, you're being an advocate. I mean, if you want to say that you don't think he's qualified, that's fine. But Robert F. Kennedy is not a menace, nor is Tulsi Gabbard, by the way. Exactly what Rupert Murdoch has against Robert F. Kennedy, I don't know. But when you see this kind of campaign being done, this comes from Rupert Murdoch, as he did against Trump after January 6th. And they still won't give up on January 6th. They still say Trump falsely asserts that he won the 2020 election and that Trump, that what happened on January 26th was in fact terrible, awful, and that he shouldn't have pardoned all the people. Eventually on January 6th, they're going to be extremely embarrassed when it turns out it was a complete put-up job. It will. And on the election, they've already been embarrassed. It's already been shown that that election was fixed. They just don't report it. He had some 9/11 conspiracy theories. I don't even know what it was. He said that one of them, Jews knew the towers were going to be attacked. I don't remember him saying that. If he did, maybe he drank a little too much. I don't know. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who I know not really well, but as an adversary for years when I was the mayor and in private law practice, the last thing he is an anti-Semite or a hater. If he has a fault, he has the same fault his dad had. He's overzealous. And when you're overzealous, you sometimes overstate. Sound familiar? We have a few of those too. He referred to the NRA as a terrorist organization. Okay, he was on the other side. In 2023, not 2013 or 2003, he claimed there was no vaccine that is safe and effective. Okay, boys. New York Post, put on your underwear, gird yourself. He may be right. How many times did the first stepmother take the COVID vaccine? How many times she get COVID? I don't know. We got to count the holes in her arm. I mean, she was getting boom, COVID, boom, COVID, boom, COVID, boom, COVID. You see the position that he took? There are doctors in Europe and Asia that are dead set on telling you that. And there are people here in the United States that are dead set on saying it isn't. There's a great, massive financial plot that rests on who's right and wrong about that. So you're going to have a hard time getting the truth on it if there's anything wrong with it. That's what pharmaceutical companies do. They, by nature, hide bad information. They've been getting in trouble for that for the last 30 years. They do it almost by instinct because they would have a hard time admitting it. One of the reasons for the high price of medicine certainly is that they have to bear all the costs of research. And Europe doesn't. And our prices are higher as a result of that. And in some ways, we are subsidizing Europe. All that's true. Here's what's also true. The price of our medicines is also inflated by the massive amount of corruption that goes on in that industry. If they have a moneymaker because of the tremendous financial pressure on them, and it's got a couple of bad tests that they should reveal, it was not uncommon that nobody'd ever find those bad tests. And then when the terrible problem emerged, you can go back and you could find the reports. They're not going to blow $1 trillion on one bad test that maybe needed to be looked at more carefully because after 3 years of use, this would reverberate on you. There was every reason in the world to be careful about the COVID vaccine because a vaccine is never approved that quickly. A vaccine goes through more tests than just a medicine because a vaccine has a tendency to not show symptoms or side effects until 2 and 3 years later. So I know very often the FDA is accused of waiting too long and killing people over medical cures. That is true. Sometimes that happens. But like everything else, because the FDA is not a crime organization like the crime family of Joe Biden, that's really more out of excessive bureaucracy. But there's wisdom to it also. These medicines cannot be put on the market without any testing, because medicines all have side effects. One doctor told me that under the wrong set of circumstances, almost any medicine could kill you, even aspirin. The likelihood of it, and this is really all question of assessing odds. I mean, I don't know if you've had a serious illness, but that's what you're doing when you have a serious illness. When I had prostate cancer, I had any number of treatments or modifications of treatments available. And in each one of them, I was given, which has the better odds of doing various things, which has the better odds of curing you, which has the better odds of leaving you or avoiding incontinence, which has the better odds of avoiding inability to have children, any number of things. Some of them may be better treatments, but can do more damage. And you got to assess the level of it that you have. You've got to, so it's a very, very complex thing when it's done right. Wasn't it suspicious, which Rudy noticed immediately, because I'm like Sherlock Holmes, that when they advertised COVID, they told you none of the side effects in the advertisement. Now, if you're like me and you listen to the conservative stations, for some reason, they have a disproportionate number of medicines as their clients, which may be the reason why Fox and everybody else protects those things so much. But they all have ads that I find hilarious. I don't know how anybody buys this medicine. If you have diabetes, you should take extra Luxator. Extra Luxator is the best. And you see this old man walking around like this. If you take it, it will cure it in 5 weeks. And now you see this old man standing up. He lost about 20 years, and he's got a beautiful bikini blonde on his arm. You're going to get a bikini blonde if you take extra Luxator. Then, after you're all excited that if you take that, not only will it cure your diabetes, it's going to make you a sexual Superman, and you're going to have all the best looking women in the villages, right? You then are told the other facts very quickly. Also, please be aware that it could kill you. It could destroy you. You might be able to walk. Your left arm may not work. Your right eye may not work. There have been several cases of people whose noses have fallen off. People have lost their ears. And there are people who have vomited for 44 days in a row. But look at Joey.
It's so true.
When they advertise COVID, not a single side effect. I don't know how they got away with it. I always thought the law required you had to put out the side effects. The minute they don't put out the side effects, you got to be leery of the damn thing. I never took it. They coming after me? I never took it. I got it once, never got it again. Now, I did have antibodies, and I did have them tested. And I began speculating. I think I was taken off one of the communist social media networks, YouTube or one of those, when I said that I was absolutely convinced on my own, as a matter of just plain logic, that my natural immunity was better than the contrived immunity. That's just based on the fact that I think natural immunity is always better than created immunity. Natural immunity has only been working since the beginning of animals. This one, has been working for 4 weeks. Make sense? Fauci, the lying rat, used to say that their immunity was better than natural immunity. Now, he knows that that's a damn lie. How much money was the little rat, who's an embarrassment to those of us from Brooklyn who are Italian American? How much is the little rat getting for it? He's never turned over his royalties. And he has a pardon from the biggest rat of all. And it goes back to 2014 when he was taking bribes for other drugs. Why the hell did he get royalties at all? Did we mention on this show how much we love the new press secretary or comms director, Carolyn Levitt?
We love Carolyn.
Carolyn Levitt did something fabulous. She has now allowed alternative media to get the same press credentials as the disgraced and crooked liars like Acosta or Costa, right? Acosta. No, he's the bad guy. The other guy is not so bad. No, I like Robert Costa. I think I have disagreements with him on his book. Even about things involving me, I have disagreements in his book. But I don't see him as malicious or with a complete agenda. The other guy's, I don't know what he is. He's sure not a reporter. He's some kind of an activist of his own. But in any event, he's gone. Did a tearful farewell where he only cried. Nobody else did. Everybody else. He doesn't realize the CNN didn't give him a party. Leaving. Could it be they don't like him or respect him? No, but Mr. Costa, you're a stupid prick and nobody likes you. And now you'll go have a podcast and even your mother won't listen to the whole thing. She'll just make believe because you're also so warped in your thinking that you're incapable of thinking or arguing logically. So it's really good that you're gone. But that gets me off the point. What Carolyn told us, Ted and I, in a personal conversation with her, which I'm sure she has no problem revealing because she basically revealed the theory herself yesterday. She wants to give pretty close to equal time to, let's call it the newly emerging alternative media. Now, the newly emerging alternative media may be at 50-50 with the others. A very, very advanced scientist of this tells me the following. So this may be able to focus it for you. He told me in an interview I did right after the election, and this guy's in England. He said, if you and Bannon were trying to put out the hard drive today, 2024, with all the same crooks trying to stop you and the 51 lying traitors that were intelligence agents, he would have won this election because you would have had, instead of getting it to 40 to 50% of the American people, you probably would have gotten to 70 to 80 because those alternative sources of which we're a small part, this show, the network, Mike, Dr. Maria, Dan Bongino, who's I think going to go into government, right? He's going to be head of. No, he was going to be the head of Secret Service, and somebody else is. I wonder what happened to Dan. He was originally chosen. Dan worked for me as a policeman. Great guy. Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon, all the people they hate. You just figure out who they hate, and we're the alternative media, and figure out who they hate, and we're telling you the truth. So I don't know if more people listen to us than them. But enough people listen to us where on an issue, we can inform up to 70% of the American people now. So we have a right to have somebody at the table. And she is going to put people from Breitbart, I assume, well, they have Fox already, of course, and they have Newsmax, who used to be treated horribly by Newsmax. They almost wouldn't let in the building. Now, OAN was there for a long time, but again, they wouldn't let them in. But Trump let them in, but they wouldn't let them in. Now she's got seats up front where every day she's going to select some from the alternative media on a rotating basis and put them up front. So the first press conference, the first two they call were from alternative media. So our correspondent, the correspondent for America's Mayor Live and for Lindell TV is Cara Castronova, who you've seen many, many times. Cara is one of the biggest experts on J6, and what happened to them, who the offending and criminal judges were, and the criminal prosecutors. And she also is an expert on politics. And she was the one who did the first special, I think for Newsmax, or maybe for Johnny Tobacco, who she's a co-host with, in showing that the Bronx was mad about Trump. Happy mad. They were crazy about Trump. And then nobody believed it, and she just kept showing the things, and the Trump people got a hold of it, and they said, she's right. They went up there, and she did a great interview with him. I thought that was, there's no one breakthrough in a campaign like that, but I do think that opened people's eyes. Don't you think, Ted? It opened people's eyes. It was, yes, it was the Bronx, but the Bronx, Harlem says something to the rest of the country. And if a Republican who last time he ran got 12% there, all of a sudden is being treated like the king returned. Wow.
Right, and we talked a lot about it at that time during the show. Just
and that was fairly early, and then it was repeated by many things like that he did in Atlanta and Detroit. When he went to he went a day after me when he went to get fingerprinted and photographed in Atlanta. He got an unbelievable reception. By the way, although they will never show, so did I.
They were cheering for you.
Cheering in the prison. They weren't just cheering for me. They were telling me all the things about Fannie Ho that hadn't come out yet. And I thought they were just saying it because they don't like her. It turned out to all be true.
That's funny.
I don't know how they knew about the boyfriend and
they had it all.
Yeah. I didn't think it was.
We might have been the only two that didn't know about it.
Well, I kind of put it. I was putting it together. I was trying to figure it out, but it didn't make. You know how it is when they scream it.
Yeah.
You can't quite.
Yeah.
You can't.
Turns out they were right about everything.
Yeah, they were right. I know. Maybe. Yeah. Well, it's considered the worst prison in America. Atlanta could be more corrupt than Detroit, New York. Could be, but it's like comparing apples and oranges. So. Carol will be asking questions on certain days, and we'll be able to report. And then she'll be there every day, meaning she can report on the questions and answers being asked by others. Well, Breitbart is part of it. Axios, which is more of a left-wing alternative, is also part of it to show that they're letting everybody in. The illegal alien situation is going along unbelievably well. I want to give you just a sense of what's happened in a week. First of all, they have set loose quotas. As Stephen Miller says, this is the bare minimum they should be arresting in any one day. And it's about 75 a bus minimum for each of the agency's 25 offices. ICE has made 4,500 arrests in the short time since Trump has and basically tossed him out of the country and put him in prison. The White House is now pressing him to get it up even more. And they're looking for about 1,200 to 1,500 arrests per day nationwide. Now, the comparison is that they have done something like, let me see if I get the statistics. I want to get the statistics right so that we have it correct. So since Trump has been in office, right? Like on Sunday, there were only 600 illegal crossings at the southern border. Biden's worst day was 4,500. We're talking about a totally different, right? And let's take a look at how it all started from the beginning. Trump's first day, 1,073. Trump's second day, 736. Trump's third day, 714. And Trump's last day, yesterday, 582. That's heading for zero. I don't know. And when Biden supposedly got more control of the border because he was running for re-election, he was down to 1,500. Trump hasn't seen 1,500 since he's in office. Maybe he never will. What a difference. What a difference a president makes. 24 little hours. An illegal migrant tried to lure an 18-year-old girl into his car on my home at one time of Long Island. Gallo Mascasfieri of Ecuador. They come from all over, these rapists and murderers. He was arraigned at the Suffolk County District Court. And because it's a Republican county, none of this sanctuary city bullshit, he's being held so he doesn't rape others. Were he to be in a Democrat sanctuary city location, he'd put out so he could do some more raping of little girls. Yes. Don't look at me like that. That's what happens. That's what happens. That is what happens. Lefty Pauls, it says here, are going after Adams now. They're very angry at him because he is cooperating with ICE. Now, he's only partially cooperating because they have a law that says, I think unless it's murder, the cops can't cooperate with ICE. Now, I don't know if the mayor, I will grant that the mayor's not a lawyer. And I will grant that city council wouldn't give him the good lawyer that he tried to get, Randy Master. But having said that, I mean, they should realize that they don't have to follow the city council laws. They're unconstitutional. The Supreme Court, the Constitution makes it clear that federal law is superior. The Constitution has something called the Supremacy Clause. We kind of fought this out in the Civil War, or the entry of the children into the schools with George Wallace standing there like a jackass when they were all brought in. He was going to stop them, and they just pushed them aside and brought the kids in because Dwight Eisenhower ordered it. And then later, John Kennedy ordered it. They had laws against it. Too bad. We're a union. Wasn't that what the Civil War was about? Because of slavery. The Democrats now have an interesting turn of phrase. They refer like when that Selena Gomez was crying her eyes out, saying her people were being deported, or the city controller Brad Lander, who I think cries more than Selena Gomez because he does look like a rather thorough sissy boy, and Nydia Velasquez, who I didn't even think was still in Congress because she's never done anything. She's been in Congress for years. I bet you didn't even know it. Nydia, nobody knows Velasquez, who's been in Congress for over 20 years, says this mass deportation agenda is targeting our loved ones. Any more of these jerks saying that? Oh, so here are their loved ones. Let's look at the ones that have been targeted. How about Anderson Zambrano Pacheco, who is one of the leaders of Tren de Aragua? He has, in the short time he's been in the United States from Venezuela illegally, an invitee of Joe Biden, we know, has been involved in multiple kidnappings, burglary, menacing people with a knife. And he's wanted for a double homicide back in his own country. So that is one of Nydia Velasquez's loved ones. Or Brad Lander's, Selena Gomez, our people. And Brad Lander's, our people. Our people includes numerous MS-13 people who have, at the high end, chopped people's legs off and heads off. At the bottom, took all their money and beat the living daylights out of them. Those are their people. Their people include 1,800 that were returned the other day, where the least crime was kidnapping. A good many murderers, a disproportionate number of sexual perverts. What tell me, what in God's name are they doing? What are they doing to their people? Defaming them? They want us to think that their people are like these animals that we're returning. I mean, whether it's going to continue this way, Holman is focusing on the worst of the worst. You look at the list coming out of these cities, it is truly frightening. And of course, it's the way it should be done. The most dangerous should go first.
There.
Yes, Ted.
Well, not to kind of a quick change, but again, along the similar lines, going back to RFK Jr., we have on the line with us via video live from Washington, D.C., our friend
It's been a while.
Caitlin Sinclair, who has been attending the confirmation hearings for RFK Jr., and I believe she's at an RFK event right now.
Hey guys,
How
I'm
are you,
gonna go
Caitlin?
inside so it's not as loud. We are here at
Okay.
the confirmation party, Mayor. Callie Means just wrapped up his amazing speech, and there are
Where is it?
700 people here right now in this room that have all been up since 2 in the morning, waiting on these long lines to get into that hearing room to make sure we confirm Bobby Kennedy for HHS Secretary. I can tell you, I've interviewed young moms tonight, Mayor, that have 4 kids, and they look at their kids' faces and they tell me that's why they're here. They're in this fight for their kids, for our future generations, and it's been just so inspiring. It's been a long day, I can tell you that. I was in the hearing room, and we are taking this country back, and we're starting by making Americans healthy again.
Are you going to see RFK later?
Yes, I have word that he is in the building, so he might just be speaking
you
soon.
tell him when you get a chance, you take him aside and tell him that Ted and I watched 2/3 of the hearing, and we thought he was spot on,
He was
and he did
incredible.
himself a lot of good. I think he made it impossible for anybody with other than partisan craziness to vote against him. And I do feel sorry at what his enemies and even his family are doing to him. I think it's horrible, horrible.
I think the
But
American people see through it, Mayor. I think most Americans at home watching today and kind of just going along this journey of a lifelong Democrat stepping away from his party to say we need to love our children more than we hate each other. I think Americans at home resonate with that message.
that's boy, that's true, and we can find a lot of illustrations of that. But I love the way he explained what a cabinet officer does, and this is true of all cabinet officers. I worked and love, admire, and hero worship Ronald Reagan, but I didn't
Yep.
agree with him on everything. But I knew he made the final decision, and I had to carry it out. And if it was against my conscience, I'd have to leave. But if it's one of those things that reasonable people could disagree about, I'd go ahead and do it. And it always was something we could disagree about. He explained that beautifully today. And just because he was a Democrat, that's true with Pete Hegseth. It's true with Rubio. I know the differences between the president and Rubio on foreign policy. I mean, it would be unnatural that there wouldn't be. I'm as close to the president as you could be, 40 years, and there are things I disagree with him. And had I been his attorney general or secretary of state, there'd have been things I disagree with. But of course, he makes the final decision. Well, you don't take the job. I thought Robert made a great description of that today. Explained civics to the American people and how an honorable man or woman operates in a position like that.
Is truly the unity party, and the reason that he was sitting in that hearing room today is because of Donald Trump, and that's exactly what we're in this fight for, to have everyone that Donald Trump wants to be part of this fight to be in the arena. And I think he did a great job depicting the unity party, and this is not red, this is not blue. Making America healthy again does not see party lines, and it was just so beautiful to be in that room today.
So how did the vote? Do you have any sense of how the votes look right now?
So, not a good sense of it yet. We'll probably know more tomorrow after the other hearing. But get this, we have Bobby being again in that room tomorrow for his hearing. We have Tulsi Gabbard's hearing tomorrow, and we have Kash Patel's hearing. So that building will be crazy. Washington, D.C. is going to be on fire. So a lot of chaos happening. But if everything does go through with the Senate Finance Committee, Mayor, then the actual confirmation for RFKJ will go through on Friday, is what I'm told. So we can do an update tomorrow. That's all we
Confirmation
know.
or committee?
Sorry.
The committee has to report them out, right?
Yes.
First.
Yes.
What would that be, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
And it goes to the floor on Friday.
That's what we're told. Could happen. Could happen.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then Tulsi is right behind him.
That's right.
You know, I feel bad for Tulsi because she's in the wrong place in the lineup. Having failed on Hegseth, I thought they went after Robert more than they had to. And if they fail on Robert, they're going to land on Tulsi. For them, it's just a matter of they got to beat somebody.
I think
They
this is
don't
the
care.
mandate from the American people. And I think the American people are sending a warning right now to all these elected officials. If you challenge RFK, if you challenge Tulsi, you will be primaried. And that message is loud and clear. This is a mandate from the American people on November 5th. We need to get all of these people confirmed.
And that's improved when they have a good performance like Hegseth did and Robert
Exactly.
did. You know, there's nothing you can pick on in the performance except,
They'll
actually the
try.
things you can pick on is how stupid some of the Democrats were. So
They're definitely
good.
trying.
Congratulate them for me and tell them in New York, I'm not in New York right now. I'm in Florida, as you know. But in New York, that I still remain close to, all the bookies think he's going to make it.
I'll send him the message, Mayor. God bless.
Okay? God bless. Good. Isn't she something? She covered that really well.
Caitlin's the best. We love Caitlin.
I wouldn't mind having
Time
her
friend of the
on
show.
my side if I had to go through a tough conversation. Well, I should have asked her this, Don, and I didn't. Is she going to be covering or helping Tulsi tomorrow? Sounds like she is.
We'll talk to her. I know she's been involved with RFK Jr., so we'll see if she's doing anything with
Well, it depends what she's
Tulsi.
doing. Usually each one has a team,
Yeah,
and but the team is more a policy team.
yeah.
In other words, to make sure he's up on everything, has the answers, they practice the answers, and they don't handle more than one at a time. But the comms people could handle more than one at a time.
Right. And so Caitlin also kind of has
it's hard to get somebody as good as Caitlin.
right.
She had a lot of experience on One America's News.
Right.
She's had a lot of experience doing investigative journalism. She's just
Very dynamic.
she's just about as good as you're going to get, right?
Right. Well, on that note, maybe we'll hear from some of our very important sponsors and come back with more of the fastest hour on the internet, America's Mayor Live.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. Sean is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. This is Rudy Giuliani back with you on America's Mayor Live as we approach and have now officially entered soccer time.
We're about to enter soccer time.
We are about to enter.
Sorry, if the mayor says we've entered it, we've entered it.
In which we are completely unhinged.
Yeah. This is what it's
1 minute.
Okay, so the hostages released yesterday. Leary Albag, Karina Ariev, Naima Levy, and Daniela Gilboa decided they were going to stick it to Hamas. Dangerous. So when they were taken out and taken over to the Israelis, they laughed and made gestures and made finger gestures. I don't think they gave them the finger, but something like it, indicating how little respect they had for the people who tortured them for so many days. And then they made it clear that they appreciate how Israel is approaching this and not just giving up the whole effort in order to let the hostages out. Now, these are all military people. So, of course, you'd expect that kind of bravery from them. But I want you to once again realize that with that having happened, because yesterday when we reported that hadn't happened yet, there are still 33 hostages to be released in what I find enormously offensive, the first phase. What do you mean phase? Release the hostages, you animals. This isn't war. You don't have hostages in war. You have prisoners of war. You don't have hostages. And we're not going to give you 50 for everyone. I don't know. One thing I disagree with Israel is that policy of, 1 for 500 got to actually, in the long term, cost more human life. I know it's tough. I know it's hard. It's hard to withstand the political pressure. It's hard to withstand your own emotions. Remember, Ronald Reagan got involved in, money for hostages, but he wanted to keep it secret There is a value in keeping it secret. There is a value, but I'm not sure it's the right thing to do to lie about it. So you're not stuck with it as a precedent if you're going to do it. It's terrible to make it a precedent because then they just keep doing it. So now the Palestinians will start gathering up more hostages for the next time they need to bail themselves out. And they know they'll be able to pick on the goodwill and the decency of the Israeli people, goodwill and decency they do not possess, and get out their worst murderers in exchange for, two babies who last night we reported on. We don't know from the beginning whether they were alive or dead, nor did they feel it's necessary to tell the parents whether they're at the time they're less than 1 year old or their 2-year-old is alive or dead. So when they deign to release them, they're either going to have two kids that have grown up for about 2 years, or they're going to have two dead bodies. Could you take that? Could you take that without getting a gun and going on the other side of the river and start shooting them? You are human, right? They are your children. You should remember, even though the communists and the brainwashed communists and the greedy bastards who want to do business with China and Iran and every place else will try to obscure this. The attack that the Palestinians, forget Hamas, it represents the vast majority of opinion in Palestine. Cut the crap. The objective of that attack was to kill civilians. The soldiers, like these girls who were taken, were soldiers, were collateral damage. In every Israeli attack, with more discipline than any army in history, the focus of the attack are the highest level members of Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, or some other Iranian proxy. And civilians are collateral, meaning it happens. Now, it happens more than it should because the Hamas Palestinians are such horrible cowards that they use children to block their being killed. Now, I shouldn't say just because they're cowards. They do it as a tactic. And the tactic is they know they can flip the weak-minded, cowardly West by doing that, even though just an application of a slight bit of intelligence would tell you it's being done on purpose. And by the way, it's a war crime, obviously, to shield yourself with a civilian. So we all know, we not only know they're doing it, we have films of them doing it, and the world court, which is as corrupt as the New York Supreme Court, the world court goes after Bibi and his defense minister, but tolerates hundreds of children, thousands of children being killed for public relations. And we're supposed to just sit by and act like this is like fair and square and the UN is. I really think we should kick them the hell out of the United States, keep all that money, start our own organization that begins with we don't kill people. And also, it would help the New York City Police Department if you got rid of the damn crooks who were part of the UN delegation. Disproportionate number of crooks in the UN delegation. I had to deal with that for 8 years, and every week there were substantial crimes committed by the representatives of what are, to a very large measure, absolutely crooked governments run by absolutely crooked people. So what do you think they're going to be like when they come to New York? Honest? Yeah, they beat the crap out of their wives at home. What do you think they do in New York? They disproportionately have sex with their children back home. They do it in New York. To say that more than a few of them are criminals, animals, and perverts would be an understatement. And we have to put up with it. And what do they accomplish? Well, for about 40 years, nothing, except aiding and abetting terrorist organizations. They're the biggest sponsor of Hamas, which is why at least the relief agency should be declared a terrorist organization. We not only have quit it, we've taken our money out. We should declare them a terrorist organization and say if they want to have hearings, they got to have them in some country that likes having a terrorist organization. But we're not going to allow them in the United States. And if they don't get out in a month, we're going to arrest all of them. And we'll take all their money away. And we're going to sue them for the money that we gave them before. So there was a report today that hostage to be freed, likely dead. The hostage was a Itzik Elgarat. He can be turned over in the next few days. He has not officially been designated as dead. He is on a list of hostages to be turned over. But his brother, Danny, who testified before a committee of the Knesset yesterday, said that he has every reason to believe that his brother is dead. So they're getting a whole bunch of murderers back in return for giving up dead bodies. Kind of doesn't work. And here are the young ladies. Now, they're putting on a good face, and look how beautiful they are. But these girls are going to have to go through quite a bit of readjustment. And of course, more than likely a suffering from PTSD. But you wouldn't know it. Brave kids, huh? I don't know if you've ever had much experience with the IDF, but they are babies. And they are good. Really good. Which is why they outperform when the numbers are way, way above them. To say they're the best army in the Middle East is an understatement. And thank God they're our ally. Right? New York City, that leads the world in recidivism, has another one that I'm just going to call to your attention. Tommy Sprave. He's 26. Yesterday he attempted to throw a 19-year-old girl onto the subway track, prevented only by the fact that he obviously doesn't have good reflexes, and he threw her, and the train just was coming in, and she bounced off the beginning of the train, and thank God she bounced back. Mr. Sprave, the judge probably released Mr. Sprave knowing he would do this, but kind of likes people being thrown on subways. Well, that's the only conclusion you can come to, since he has, and he is only 26, and this is only since he became an adult, 26 arrests. That's it. Most recent for burglary. That was 2 weeks ago. And you say to me and the rest of America, if he did a burglary 2 weeks ago, and he had up until that point 24 arrests, and he's only 26, why was he walking the subway tracks? Because New York likes criminals, the New York Democrats. And the judge, who is clearly, I don't even know who the judge is, judge is a Democratic hack, appointed by the Bronx County leader. Gee, I put one of them in jail. Obviously appointed only because he's a Democrat and will do what he says, and is probably a foolish, stupid, ignorant, left-wing criminal lover. Well, he put Mr. Sprave out there and then got what he wanted, I guess, the woman thrown on the subway track. Thank God God intervened and stopped her from falling in front of the train. But so maybe now they'll put Sprave out. You can get another attempt to kill another innocent New Yorker. It's at the point where it almost seems like they're doing that under the leadership of the guy who prosecuted Trump on a trumped-up charge. Bragg. Who is your non-Republican hero right now? Oh, that's a good one, but he's been a hero for quite some time. Who's your new one? That's Rob, and we can't hear Rob because Ted is hogging the microphone, but not using it. That's really unfair, Ted. If you're not going to use the microphone because you're shy, you should allow Rob to use it.
Can you repeat the question?
No, let Rob answer it. Come on over here. Come on over here, Rob. You're not shy. Gosh, we haven't seen him in 3 weeks and he's shy. These guys, you got to keep on top of them or they become shy on you.
All right, so I said RFK Jr., but the mayor said that's a long time.
Come on, no, come on.
We got a new one,
The new hero, Democrat hero.
Democrat hero. I know I have a couple.
Oh, come on. I bet Stephen knows. And if he doesn't, I think Raleigh knows.
Who the hell was it?
Is Raleigh around?
There's definitely a couple of them.
Stephen, is Raleigh around?
He's outside. Do you want to get him?
Yeah, have him come in. He may know the answer.
I'm getting like a brain.
Raleigh is our new correspondent. Come on. Come on. I just want to hear Raleigh.
Any hints?
Raleigh, come over here.
Do you have a hint, Mayor?
Come here, Raleigh boy. Very unlikely. Here he is. Here's the boy. Bring him down. Bring him down. There he is. Raleigh, what do you say? Come here.
Raleigh has an affinity for Nicole Shanahan.
Yeah. Nicole, well, no wonder he likes pretty women. However, it is not a pretty woman, far from it. Fetterman.
That's the one I wanted to say.
Raleigh is our favorite. Mr. Raleigh is our
Never
favorite.
been a Democrat. He's actually hardcore the other way.
That's because he's so good looking. You know what Democrats look like. So Fetterman absolutely destroyed The View the other day. Imagine saying on The View that Trump is a nice guy. He's engaging. He's extremely friendly. He's very.
I love that.
He sounds smarter now.
And
You didn't like that.
so then Anna Navarro,
That genius.
who was a Republican, a turncoat Republican, says, I didn't love the optics of you going to Mar-a-Lago. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's not even
I really care? Or you think Fetterman really cares?
Anna
Anna Navarro? Who the hell is Anna Navarro anyway? Just a big mouth who says stupid things on The View, on the dumbest show in the history of television.
Might be
If you are addicted to The View, will you please get psychiatric help or seek to improve your cognitive abilities? He also was stupid to ask him. He said he thought the prosecution of Trump by Bragg was politically motivated. They spent hours, days
setting that up.
making Bragg into the greatest hero for Trump, for framing Trump.
It's a good subject to cover, Mayor. I think the Democrats that are coming over.
So I think that he is really shaking it up. And as Kirsten Fleming in the Post says, we need more Fettermans in politics today, but few have his conviction, common sense, or let's face it, cojones.
Yeah. The willingness to say the truth.
I mean, if you think about it, what he's done in a short period of time, do you know Homan and the new people at immigration have already either found or accounted for and are about to find 80,000 of the 300,000 missing children because they've made it a priority. The Bidens never made it a priority, but obviously the Bidens don't like children. They don't even like their granddaughter who they have never met. I mean, you realize that Biden is a very, very bad man. You know, like when you talk to children to stay away from somebody, he's a very bad man. If Biden lived in my neighborhood, I would tell my kids to walk on the other side of the street because he may want them to come over and touch the hair on his legs. He said that. I didn't say that. Trump has been all over the place. They banned DEA right away. They closed the border, and he's got it down to a mere fraction of what Biden was at when Biden was doing his best. They've halted government censorship effort. They've refocused the Defense Department from having parties for drag queens to figuring how to shoot straight. They started a massive cleanup at the Justice Department, so great that the Justice Department people are whining on TikTok, a Chinese communist-dominated app, that they may have to go to work. This is better than firing them. Make them go to work and they'll leave. I never had that. I had to do things like put them in places they didn't like to go to get them the hell out. I was thinking here, Antarctica, but may not be necessary. Trump told off the fat cats at Davos, including telling the American bankers stop discriminating against conservatives. He had a shout out for the guy they fear greatly because he actually can know something about economics, Javier Milei, instead of that great German economist, I hesitate not to use the right word, that great German economist, Klaus Schwab. It will be necessary for the transition that many people will have to be poor. But then they will not be poor any longer when we establish one government without U.S. nationalism to interfere. Thank you, Klaus. How come they didn't say, when they falsely accused Elon of giving the Nazis salute, that could have been the Klaus Schwab salute? It's very similar. Get my meaning? Well, this is, I think, it is quite accurate to say that I really don't think we've ever seen anything quite like this. Kennedy's first 100 days were lightning fast. Reagan's first 100 days I lived through those. I did not live through the guy who invented the 100 days, which was Roosevelt. But by and large, he put together the institutions that have made us a communist country in those first 100 days. So I don't know, good job in getting infiltrated by the commies. I have a very exciting announcement that'll make you that much more interested in American politics and want to join in. And we'll just bear with me for about 3 minutes so I can get this extra piece of information to you. You're really going to be excited about this. You may even want to donate things to this. Guess who's running for the Senate? Little Pete Buttigieg is running for the Senate, but he doesn't live there. He's running in Michigan, because if he ran in Indiana, they kick him out of town because he was such a shitty mayor of South Bend. And he was an awful, and they don't even know what department he ran in government. They know he was a cabinet secretary, but since, like all the rest, he never showed up for work, they don't know what he was secretary. I know because the mayor of East Palestine kept him waiting for an hour and a half talking to me about how to deal with the emergency, because he didn't think it was worthwhile talking to little Petey, who didn't know a damn thing about transportation or about anything else for that matter. Petey was always off doing something when things went wrong, because Petey, like his boss, never showed up for work. Now he wants to be a senator, which is the kind of job where you don't have to show up if you want that kind of senator. For Michigan, Ted, Stephen, your state, you gonna let this little phony jerk off become a senator in your state?
I don't I don't like his chances. I want to say that on the record. I know Pete moved to Michigan, right? I knew that the second he moved. He moved from Indiana to Michigan.
Elected in Indiana.
Indiana
Indiana's a
can't get
Republican
elected.
state.
Yeah, it's a
He
Republican
has
state.
a chance in Michigan unless Michigan keeps moving.
Yeah,
Republican.
Michigan. And so Michigan just we'll give you the quick, we could talk Michigan politics for a long time because there's an open governor's race, an open Senate race, because there's no incumbent, right? For governor, U.S. Senate seat, there's 3 competitive House seats, Secretary
all
of State
26?
and Attorney General, all up in 2026, and also the State House and the State Senate and some Supreme
Is
Court
the
seats.
state house now Democrat both?
Yeah, the
Because-
House is
Because
Democrat.
in 2020 it was half Republican, half
Yeah,
Democrat.
and it was Republican for decade or
Yeah.
for a very long time. But back to your question about the Senate race, Mayor Pete is going to run, but Republicans, they'll have some formidable candidates. And then there's a governor's race with a strong independent. So the governor's race is actually going to be a 3-way race.
Who's the independent?
The mayor of Detroit, the name is Mike Duggan. You may not even know that name. He's given more credit than he probably deserves on Detroit, the city, and it hasn't completely burned down. So he's kind of given credit for some incremental improvements, and he gets a pass because of COVID. For the slowdown in the recovery.
Oh, COVID did it, not him.
Yeah, well, any problem because Detroit's it's kind of been on the up and up
Why
for
has
a
every
while,
other
and then
city
COVID
recovered?
slowed it down.
Except New York. New York hasn't recovered.
Exactly. So
Other cities have.
yeah, and I'll let Stephen maybe talk about Detroit and how folks are feeling on the ground. He's been there more recent, but yeah, that Senate race will be interesting. And Mayor Pete, I don't know that he has the. I don't think Mayor Pete is the type of Democrat that Michiganders will go for, but I might be wrong.
Well, what I'm going to say is Mayor Pete is a carpetbagging loser who will never become senator in Michigan. A lot of my colleagues, I work for the Log Cabin Republicans, obviously. A lot of my colleagues know Chasten, his lovely husband, who's from Traverse City. And apparently he's one of the most insufferable people you'll ever encounter, complaining about how, it was so hard to grow up gay in this liberal enclave with the most supporting family, is what he would say. And and Buttigieg took time off to swing with his husband in northern Michigan when countless transportation disasters were taking place. It's almost like Karen Bass fiddling in Ghana during the fires. That's what Pete Buttigieg is.
He's the prototype of Karen Bass.
Yeah, they're
before there was Karen Bass.
I bet they'd get along. I bet they'd get along great, actually. Phoning it in.
But we have the greatest. I mean, we are in East Palestine, Ohio. The mayor and I drove there from New York City to check in on the good people there. The mayor, Trent Conaway, the mayor of East Palestine. We got to check in with him. Let's get him back on the show. He's meeting with Mayor Giuliani. He finds out Mayor Giuliani's there and he wants to meet with him. So he's sitting there and they're talking for at least an hour.
We're having a
very substantive conversation
too about how to get help, where you get help, how you organize the outside people that want to come in and help you, because sometimes they can do more harm than good unless you have a plan. I mean, it was a real mayor to mayor conversation.
And somebody comes up to the mayor of East Palestine and lets him know, hey, Pete Buttigieg is outside, the Secretary of Transportation.
Yeah, and I said, okay, Mayor, we can stay around and come back, right?
Yeah, and the mayor said, no.
I said that. I'm not sure. But
we said we'll come back. Yeah, we want to show respect.
We didn't want to, they were having such trouble getting anybody from the administration there that we didn't want to.
That's right.
Stand in the way.
And the mayor and Mayor Conaway of East Palestine said, no, we're talking here. Tell Mayor
Pete, tell him to wait.
Tell Pete to wait. And he made him wait a half hour.
Yeah. And when we got out, he looked, when you could find him, it was hard.
It was hard to find him. I
sort of
thought it was.
In the middle of normal people.
Yeah.
And we looked over and then we saw him near the ground and he looked so angry.
And out of place.
Oh, he was being held up by actually a public official who did his job, me.
And he's stuck in this small, godforsaken town in the middle of Ohio.
Failure as a public official. For me, it's like, it's an embarrassment to be with some of these people. So here's an interesting one. And it frightened me this morning, Ted, when I was just waking up going like this, looking at the New York Post. It says Mark Molinaro is going to be in the transportation department and he's going to change all the congestion pricing in New York. And I said, oh my God, we're giving up another congressman, I'm going to call Trump and say, don't do it, Mr. President, don't do it. It turns out I had forgotten Mark Molinaro lost to Democrat.
New York, we had a few.
Yeah.
New York
we
was
still made it. And Mark should have won that. It was very close, by the way. I thought he was actually going to stick around for a rematch, but apparently he would be the Federal Transit Administrator within the Federal Highway Administration within the Department of Transportation. He has the discretion to halt congestion pricing based on an analysis of how it affects interstate commerce. So, and of course, as a Republican congressman from what we call upstate New York, where the burden of that falls on the people who come into New York driving, he is a big, big opponent, and so is the president. So this may be the way the president keeps his promise and gets congestion pricing relieved. I don't know. Do you know that when they went and raided in New York last night, the illegals, which they did in 4 of the 5 boroughs, including some really dangerous ones, Trendiagua, M13, a couple murderers, a couple of rapists. Do you know that Kristi Noem was with them? She did a ride along with them. There she is, right there with the police. Now, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Do you think that's like showboating, or do you think that's good for morale?
She plays it well.
No, you can have 2 views of this, right? 2 legitimate views of this.
I think it shows strength. It shows strength and leadership. I think it's leading from the front. Obviously, she's not spending all of her time doing this. You know, there's a lot of policy work behind the scenes.
If you look carefully, it looks like she's on a subway right there. It looks
Well,
like
they need safety as much as anyone, or more obviously than everyone. We remember the recent incidents on the people getting pushed on the tracks, people getting set on fire alive.
Just yesterday, somebody was pushed on the tracks.
Yeah, if you look at pictures now, when you see people waiting for the next train, they're all standing really far behind because they don't want to be pushed onto the tracks.
I wouldn't
take the darn thing, honestly.
I'll tell you why. No matter how strong you are, no matter how brave you are, no matter how tough you are, somebody can just cold cock you. You know, boom.
Yeah.
You don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Exactly. DC Metro, same way. I mean, it's less dangerous.
I think she looks legitimately passionate about it. You know,
how about you, Ted?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Come back to me on that one.
She's stunning. I think she looks absolutely stunning.
I let that look out. Here. She is beautiful.
I will say we would
all agree with this one. This is a pretty easy.
We could all be since we're 3 males, we should have a female's view. We could all be affected by the fact that I've never seen her look that good. Wow. I mean, she's good looking.
She's good. I've always kind of thought of her as being good looking.
That's movie star.
Yeah. How about her?
It looks like she's like that. Looks like an ad for Kristi Noem Superwoman.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember her doing those ads?
Yeah,
they were watching Newsmax, and she'd do those funny ads about.
Maybe she enjoys doing stuff like that. So I'm going to tell you, having done that myself as much as I could, I believe it's very good. I believe it's very good for morale to get out in the street and do what your people are doing. I filled potholes. I actually was an undercover agent for the DEA when I was U.S. attorney for 3 buys that were real, legit. I wanted to see how they did it. I had a U.S. Marshals appointment, deputy U.S. Marshals appointment, allowed me to carry a gun and do stuff like that. I always appreciate it when my police commissioner, who originally was criticized, Bernie Carrick, my 3rd police commissioner, and the one that was closest to policing, because Bratton had been a Boston policeman, and Safer was a brilliant federal officer, both DEA, marshals, had organized a witness protection program, enormously creative law enforcement guy. But Bernie was one of our most accomplished police officers, one of our bravest, one of our most decorated. And when he became a cop, I needed to increase morale. So I brought one of the guys in who's one of the top guys. And all of a sudden, about 4 weeks into it, I get up in the morning and my press secretary's on the phone and says, you like very disdainfully says, your police commissioner is out of control. He made an arrest this morning. I surprised the hell out of it. To be in City Hall to greet him. He made 4 more. You know how great that was for the cops that he made arrest. These were not show with Bernie. No such thing as a showboat arrest. Only thing you had to worry about when he put the handcuffs on the guy, did the arms get broken? Look, I was with Bernie and he helped save my life. So you're not going to say anything bad about Bernie unless you want me to punch you in the mouth. So that was wonderful when Bernie would do that. He went up to the top of the Brooklyn Bridge with the cops. No other commissioner ever done that. It's just like, wow. It's like when, remember, it was Patton or MacArthur, the movie. And they're having a tough time taking a hill. And Patton tells his driver, with General Bradley in the back, or MacArthur, I think it must, I'll find out. It's one of the two of them. They take me up to the top of the hill. Bradley says, General, you're going to get killed up there. He said, bullets don't hit me. And I got to get up there. Only way I can rally my guys. He goes right up to the top, and they're shooting at him, and he's just standing there. They're looking at him saying, Jesus, we got to do it, right? And of course, they took the hill. They won the battle. They either took the island back or the place in France so they can march right into Berlin before the Russians. So we could have prevented East Berlin, but we didn't because of the communists surrounding Eisenhower, God forbid, surrounding Roosevelt. So I think Christie's got the right idea. I wonder if she has any kind of a law enforcement background, because that it would suggest to me that she thought of doing something like this. I'm sure that
I feel like governor of South Dakota, you have some real.
Homan is
real,
Homan works for her.
Yeah.
And this shows real support for what Tom is doing. And I think Tom will appreciate it because it'll say the people at the top of the agency understand what we do and respect it. And I'd like to see more of them. I'd like to see more. I know Kash Patel will do it. Well, Kash is half law enforcement anyway. But that helps a lot, particularly law enforcement. They love to see that you're willing to take risks with them. I know she's got guards and protection around her. Doesn't matter. She could have gotten killed doing that. Look, they shot at the president with more guards around him than she had. And people in New York shoot everybody and anybody. I was asked once, what do you hunt for? I said, well, in New York, the only thing you hunt for are people. I mean, it's really true. The only way they use guns in New York, they don't go after deer, they go after people. So let me conclude on a happy note. CNN is crashing. Yay, 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 yay. They're all upset that Jim Acosta was put on the midnight news. And Jim, who was the new Walter Cronkite, was insulted because he's a journalist and he quit. And many people at the station are very angry at Mark Thompson, who since 2023 has been making changes in order to move it out of the category of Pravda and move it into the category of just a normal government-owned socialist type lying network, which is where they are now. And they're all upset at Scott Jennings because he is alienating employees with his MAGA talking points. Now, it never alienated employees. When I was representing Donald Trump, every morning there were Democrat Party talking points about the Biden investigation and the impeachment. They would all say the same thing. I remember twice, 25 different reporters on all the communist networks saying, this will bust open the case. Papadopoulos will be a devastating witness. Then the next one, bust open a case, devastating witness. Then Congressman Schiff has a witness, a whistleblower, who can prove that Trump offered a quid pro quo to President Zelensky as a bribe to indict the Bidens over and over again. Each one of them, every Costa, Buska, Bosca, Cuomo, this one, that one, this one, the ones on the evening news, the ones that don't even know each other, same words, same 10 words all the time. And then it turns out it wasn't true, but that didn't matter. And Jennings makes a couple of things defending Trump, and he's a bad guy. By the way, he's quite good. Another source, it's clear they're acquiescing to Trump, especially with what they did to Acosta. Morale is low. I'd like to ask this guy, is there anything else we can do to make the morale lower so all of you rats would flee the sinking ship? Too bad there's no such thing as negative ratings. I mean, you can only go down to 0. I know a number of your mothers are now not watching. So maybe this guy Thompson wants to try to save the network. I'm sure if he thought Acosta was good for the network, he'd keep him. Acosta is such a jack. God. Well, now that I made that clear, not much new news on DeepSeek, except a little more in the direction of sounds like the Chinese exaggerated it a bit. I really do think if it is what they say it is, they would never have announced it because there ain't no point in letting us know what capacity they have. So they're trying to head fake us with the fact that they have capacity that they don't have. The last guy who did that was killed in a ditch. And that was Saddam Hussein, who head faked us into thinking he had weapons of mass destruction. Remember, people say, oh, they were all wrong about weapons of mass destruction. True, but he affirmed it because he wanted, not so much for us, he wanted Iran to think he had weapons of mass destruction because they had fought to a draw just a short while ago in a 7-year war, which neither one won. And as long as Iran thought he had weapons of mass destruction, they were nervous about coming too far into Iraq. So that was very cute. And God rest your soul.
Cost him his power.
Yeah, I mean, this could happen to these jackasses too.
But what you said, Mayor, is really, I think, the answer here. If this was done at the cost that they're claiming, right, at a fraction of the cost of these American companies, there's no way they would have let this thing out publicly and open source.
Why do they want us trying to figure out if we can do better than that?
It's almost
when they know that we have all the creative ability, and at a minimum, the best they're going to be is we'll develop a better technology. You have to try to steal it again. One of these days, we may actually get an administration that prevents Chinese stealing, and we're in better shape now to have it since we don't have anybody that, as far as I know, around Trump that's been bribed by China.
I think
we had a president, for 4 years, they had a president they owned. He got paid a lot more money by China than the U.S.
Right.
And of course, the American press never reported to you that his son made it clear that Joe got half the money from China. He said it. He admitted it. It's admissible evidence if they ever let me prosecute Biden for racketeering or possibly treason. Well, on that note, and on the note that every day we're making progress back to the America we know and love, and then an improved America that we can pass on to our children. Isn't that exciting? You're living in exciting times. I think, and this is a close one, I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. met the threshold today. I am worried for Tulsi Gabbard, not on the merits, but because, these animals have to get somebody. And I think they were tougher on Kennedy because they didn't get Pete. They were tougher on Pete because they didn't get Gates. And now, they got really one target left. Now, she is an enormously capable person, as capable as the other two in defending herself. So let's see if she doesn't turn it on them.
Well, before we leave tonight, Mayor, we do want to stay with our audience. Breaking news out of Washington, D.C. We are hearing early reports, this is just minutes old, of a potential plane crash, Washington, D.C., right near Reagan Airport. Now, again, this is just minutes old. We're going to show the video that we're getting.
Is that the crash?
This is potentially shows something here. Now, again, these are just early reports. We're
Is it a
just
plane
getting this in
landing?
minutes ago.
Or taking off?
We believe taking off, and there may have been a helicopter involved.
It looks like a collision.
It looks like potentially a midair collision.
But what was that? You see the plane up above, and then you see the.
Watch this.
I'm watching another video.
So,
We see that.
so if we have other videos,
There's an airplane going up, right? That airplane is unaffected, right?
yeah, that one up top, something below. Now, is that a passenger jet?
The one
look up information.
below, I can't tell. It doesn't look like it's big enough.
This is just minutes old, so we're gonna stay
the size of
live
that
for a couple more
explosion.
minutes here.
Look at the size of that explosion compared to the airplane. The airplane is much larger than the explosion.
But that could be a passenger. Oh my
Well,
God!
I don't know. It could be a drone too, or it could be a helicopter, or it could be it's awfully low to the ground. It seems rather small. That's all you can tell. Look how small it is. You'd almost think it was fireworks.
Yeah, it was a different plane. Oh, yeah.
Now, is that a full? But is this a passenger jet coming out of Reagan? I mean, that's
I see that one now. I see that one coming in. That looks like a plane.
a big plane.
Not a big one, but a plane.
Okay.
Wow, something hit something. Yes.
Well, this is just minutes
Well,
old.
did it hit something or did it
Yeah.
explode?
Two vehicles
Something.
midair.
What do you say? What do you say, Stephen? You're looking at it too.
I
Go around. Come on.
Yeah, the more prominent plane is not the subject. It's the ones behind it.
Get another mic over there, guys.
this is all developing. I actually couldn't exactly tell you what it looks like happened.
So this is just 30 minutes ago from Nick Sorter, an individual who we have, a friend of ours on the show. He is reporting that a plane has crashed into a helicopter while landing at Reagan National Airport near DC. Fatalities have been reported. A massive search and rescue operation is happening right now in the Potomac River.
Unbelievable.
Witnesses reported seeing a massive crash and hearing a loud boom. We have people on the way to the scene now. Maybe we'll stay on a couple extra minutes, Mayor.
Yeah, stay on. See what you can get.
Let's stay on and see what we can
You want
get
to take
get
a little
involved.
break and then we'll come back and have everything organized? Or you want to just go right into it?
Well, we'll take a.
I don't think people mind if I'm going to see what I can get here.
Let's stay live with we're going to stay live with people here. This is a breaking story, just minutes old. And so we're going to try to get some information.
And was it Reagan Airport?
That's right, Reagan Airport.
Oh, it's always very suspicious. Oh, very suspicious when it's in the nation's capital, right?
Right. So we're going to see if we can get what we want to do.
And you're pretty convinced that's a collision rather than an explosion.
Yeah.
There it is coming in. I got to look around here to see it.
But it's almost like was it on purpose? It's like you see the helicopter fly right into it.
What?
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
I don't necessarily.
Watch here, Mayor.
I don't necessarily see something flying into it. I see it explode.
It's hard to see
It's
the
probably
right here.
You're not seeing it.
Right here. Look,
Yeah, you see the two in the back.
it's behind. It's,
Forget the one that's predominant.
you might not see it because of the
Yeah.
A large one and a small
but
one.
you see the small one flying towards it.
The small one hits the large one, whatever the large one.
So we're trying to get people over there right now. We have our White House correspondent who's still working on her. We'll see if we can get her over there. So again, this is just breaking news. This is live. This isn't live. This is a replay of the footage. But we're gonna work the phones here and see if we can't get somebody over over there. Again, this is happening live. Hey, so we'll stay with you here. We're coming to you. You know, we're gonna get as much live footage as we can. Again, breaking news out of Washington: a plane crash apparently near Reagan Airport. And so we're covering this live. You can get to Reagan. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'll call. Sorry. All right. Okay. So we're gonna stay with you as we cover this here. If you guys have any other video, send it over and we'll put it up on the board here. So this is breaking news right within the hour, ladies and gentlemen, of a plane crash outside Reagan Airport, which is the main airport outside Washington, D.C. So we're gonna stay live here for a few minutes. Yep. So if we can get, and if you can type stuff up, send it to me so I can put it up on screen.
I've got one here. I'm still connected over there.
Sorry, guys. We are actually working and typing here, so we'll
Yeah.
try to keep up. I don't want to stay silent here, but we are typing and kind of working through this here. This just happened.
Okay, put my mic on.
All right, welcome back. You're Sue live now from Oxide Major Craft. We do have some breaking news right now of a really
Can you put that down, boys?
The
From here? You gotta do it there.
Reagan Internet
Not here.
or
So we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Skycam.
Turn that off.
Gotta do it there. Gotta do it there.
TC Fire and EMS.
No, you can't do it. You just did it.
Just disconnect.
Okay. And you gotta do it on there. You can't do it on there. So sorry, guys. We got a lot going on here. We're just giving you the latest that we know, and that's of a plane crash outside Washington, D.C. We have multiple people there that we're trying to get in touch with. This is just minutes ago.
And if we can put it down.
That's got to be off, yeah. And I can, come on, Nick. I'm trying to get somebody that's over there. We have lots of a number of individuals that we work with who are in and around that area. We're trying to get Nick Sorter, who's one of the largest independent journalists in the country. So he's probably extremely busy right now as he makes his way over there. So we're going to try to get some more footage here. We have helicopter in the here.
So if you don't hit something there, please.
It looks like there's thousands of rescue vehicles down now.
You see that? So
Now, I'm getting reports that there are 60 souls on board the commercial jet that was struck by the helicopter, and that some rescues have been made by the fireboat. But this is all still developing. If you look at the Sorter video, you can see huge spotlights from different aircraft trying to search for, I guess, bodies or some of the souls that were on board.
There.
So that's okay. So again, Reagan Airport. This is an airport that all of us know very well, and
we just flew into it for the inauguration, right?
And folks that fly in and out of DC may be very familiar with it. Audio still good, Rob? Audio's good on the show. Please you got to stay on that because we have I have a bunch of stuff happening on our screen with buttons that were.
Is there any way to make that lower so we can hear something, but not that loud?
Yeah, I'll put it straight. I'll grab that. I'll pull that video straight to the screen here, Mayor. So, Mayor, so you're somebody with a lot of experience handling emergency situations. What would the immediate response be for local authorities in a situation with a plane crash?
Well, right now, there's a decision going on, which is this a crime scene or just a crash? So you got the police and the emergency fire units responding, right? And since you're in a multi-jurisdictional situation, meaning there's no one police department or fire department like in New York, you've got DC fire and police, you have Virginia fire and police, you have you probably have Alexandria fire and police.
It's a lot happening.
Now they're used to working as one unit.
Guys in place to go into the water
Confirmed
right here.
small aircraft down in Potomac
So, Nana, are you
River
getting
near
the sense, like,
Reagan
Again, very
National
fluid, Jim.
Airport.
so as you, I don't know
Fireboats
where
on
you were
scene.
earlier,
Gosh, this
but as you were
reminds me
making your
of the
way there
crash
on the
when I was
roads, I
Associate
can
Attorney
imagine you were
General.
seeing the
It
response just
happened
like
right
we are
after
from
I took
afar,
off
with
from
just
the
just
airport
a sea of
under
flashlights
President
heading
Reagan.
over towards the
Has
airport.
anything like this happened in New York?
Yes, Jim. So we were
Yes.
actually coming
The plane
from
crash?
downtown,
Sure, I had a big
right by Cat
plane
1,
crash
and you could see
with
and
Flight
hear the
800,
sirens and the
TWA
lights, just
800,
weren't too sure
headed
where
to
they were going.
Paris.
Initially, we were
That
heading
crashed
down
3
to
minutes
Reagan
outside of
National,
Kennedy.
and you could just see,
It
for lack
killed
of better
everyone on
words, a
board.
convoy of fire trucks and
Or
rescue
halted out of
shooting
Reagan,
down
which is
towards the
obviously
airport. But then
You would
photojournalist
expect that
Sanan
to
and I
basically
noticed that
halted.
these
Going,
fire rescue cars were looping. So, of course, we followed and realized that Gravelly Point seems like the staging.
So the camera
area.
is at the wharf. What you're seeing mostly are lights. I don't know if the fire's out on. That looked like the spot where the plane came down. There's a helicopter coming in and going over the scene, hovering over it, I guess, to make an evaluation. I assume that in there are the 2 aircraft. Look like 2 aircraft. They were both very low. They were when we saw the crash, they were both very, very low. And I don't know that we're getting much out of that. Let's try this one. Nope, wrong, same one. Let's try that one.
Now, unfortunately, the cold weather that they've been having in DC lately that we experienced during the inauguration is going to make the water hard to survive.
Well, let's just bear with it for a minute.
It's a touch screen, right?
And by the way, we've got this very footage up on screen right now.
Yeah, don't
Take that off.
you have to do.
I have it up right
Oh.
now.
Well, you don't have what I want.
There, but
I wanted to see if this shows the crash.
Terminal is open, right?
still open.
So I am
at
gonna
this
put that
time.
on and
then
we
you
can
saw
do it.
Nana there. She described the situation as fluid, and you saw it there. in
No,
real
they show
time
us
as
just
she
a
was
response,
asking
right?
Emergency
See all the
responders in
sirens?
Fairfax County,
If the sirens
where are
are
you going? Who are you helping? And
Turn that.
he responded. He was very candid with her and honest, and said, "We're trying to figure that out."
Okay.
Get rid of the volume, please.
We're going to take a deep breath here for a second.
That
Because we want
plays
to
on the
show
show.
you video that's into the newsroom. This is from EarthCam, and this is from near the Kennedy Center. And this is what we've just been authorized to show you. We're working to get that ready to show you.
Oh, that's doing
That,
it.
there is a
Here it
picture of.
is.
All right, there it is. There's a
This is
picture of
what's
it.
being said to
That's
be the
one
moment
picture. That
the
one is the more
collision happened
deceptive
there.
and the more difficult one
Again,
to
we're being told,
analyze.
here's a better angle. This is not a live shot. I want to stress this is not a live, or is this a live shot or
No, that's not. That's
This is
obviously
the
not
better
a
one.
live
be
shot.
careful
It's
with
not a
that
live
because
shot.
This is the better
know
one
that
right
what
here.
happened and what is happening. But this is the moment purportedly that a helicopter crashed, collided with what is only being called a small aircraft at this hour.
Did I hear the word helicopter?
Yes.
So
the
Helicopter
you can
crash
see the
into a
flash
small
there.
aircraft.
And look, so the plane on top, it looks like that was taking off. And then you could see in the middle of the screen there,
You see
right
the-
there.
I wonder if that's the only film they have
It's hard
of
to
it.
tell which aircraft.
They're lucky to
was
have it in a
which.
way, right?
There's really no way for us to confirm that at this point.
I would
but-
imagine, okay, well, let's watch it again. So that, disregard the one on top, because that is a plane taking off up on top of the screen. There, what I'm imagining, you can see the smaller vehicle, the
smaller
flashing
one.
lights there on the left. And
Helicopters
right
are very
here is
nimble.
the moment
Oh
of impact.
my
Again, this is coming
gosh.
from EarthCam. This
Okay,
is the
show it to
camera
us instead of
over, near the
expressing
Kennedy Center,
your horror.
which points
Yeah,
over
send it. You got to
towards,
send it to me. You got to email it to me.
towards the Potomac and
Right.
over
This
towards
is like
Reagan
this
National.
is breaking
So,
news reporting up to the minute
It's
here.
hard,
That is
man,
what we're
looking
showing
at
you. And on
that.
the right side of your
Can you
screen,
email it to me, please?
that is Nana sent you a
So
bonus camera,
we're
which
again
is
now
a
we're
gravity point
receiving
for a lot
word,
of the,
Mayor, of a
at least from that
potential
vantage point,
mid-air
Fairfax County,
collision
rescue was
between
just
a
there,
helicopter
showing
and
up
an
to get those
aircraft.
boats
I've
in the
now
water.
received multiple
Yeah, you can
reports
see
on the
them,
size of this
actively
aircraft.
working right now.
Some on the
emergency
news have
response
reported it as
security
a
establishing,
small
they
aircraft.
continue, it sounds
We've heard
like,
from
to
others
establish
of
a
up to
perimeter
dozens
around this search and
and
rescue
upwards of
operation.
60 souls
All
on
of
board.
this
None
not
of this has
only
been confirmed.
to
So
On
decrease
the-
the risk
on
of
the
the
aircraft.
situation, but
on the
also to
aircraft,
control
not the
access,
well,
That would be a
both the
small-
helicopter
those
and
who
aircraft.
So you would consider that
are
a
not
small
authorized to
aircraft
be
and
there.
possibly not a
As you
commercial.
can imagine,
Well,
they're
6
going
is
to
is
have
a
a
good
lot of
amount. out,
different
right? I mean, that's
entities
commercial.
working on
Commercial. It
this.
could be a local, regional.
It
I'm
seems like
getting
there's still
reports
a
that
lot
it
of
was an
unanswered
American
questions
Airlines
as we
flight.
noticed
We are now
when
hearing that. Is
Ivana
that
was talking
pretty
with
good?
Well,
some of
Corroboration?
the
Who's telling you that?
responders that had just gotten to the scene.
It's an American
They're
Airlines
still trying to
hub.
figure out
So
what their role
remember, we
in
took
this
American Airlines
is going to be
into it and out of it, right?
Right.
as they were headed out.
Helicopter.
So an American
Never
airline. I mean, it could
Actually,
be
I'm
one.
gonna, I'm gonna,
It could be one
I'm
of
gonna
those
send a
shuttle.
message to our assignment desk on this here.
But as time goes by, and we continue to show you.
Man, we should play the volume from here though, directly. It's a
Well,
lot
I don't know. I'm doing the best I
Reagan
can. But let's have that
on
on.
the right-hand side of your screen, in that lower corner, right there, you somewhat see that fireball right there. That is what is believed to be the collision between the small aircraft and the unidentified helicopter. We did get recent information. There were reports in the beginning that they believed it was a DC police helicopter. That is not the case.
Correct.
It has been confirmed that it was not a DC police helicopter. Now, as more time goes by, those specific details that will perhaps be able to tell us a lot more about what happened leading up to this moment. Specific details about the flight number, also the kind of helicopter, where the miscommunication.
The plane nosedived into the water.
Unfortunately, a lot of this probably won't be known for a while.
Yeah.
You know, for days.
Yeah, you're on.
Or
Okay,
sometimes
so
weeks and months, and that's just
Corroborating
because
reports
there's
is
so
that American
many things
airline
that
flight
go into an
5342
investigation
American Eagle has
following
collided
a
with the
tragedy and an
helicopter,
accident like this.
and
You have
between 68 and
not only
73
different agencies working
passengers
together,
are
like
at
the FAA
risk,
NTSB,
and that
but,
both
you've got
on the radar,
box
both
collection, right? You've got the
AA
cockpit, the voice recorder, all of that
5342
stuff comes with time
and the
to
helicopter
shed light
stopped
on
tracking.
exactly how we
So
got to the point
it's
we're at
likely
now.
that
And like I said,
I didn't
if
get
you're
that,
just
Stephen.
typing away,
Stopped
it's only because
crashing?
no, they
we're
stopped
trying to
tracking
get
on
some
the radar.
information
They
out
both
there,
disappeared off
because
the
we
radar
know,
at that
again,
time.
at
So
this hour, it's right around 9 o'clock.
5432 American. How many?
5342.
How many on board?
Aircraft. It appears to be, at least
Between
from some of the sources reaching out to us,
68 to
that was a
73.
military
Well, that's the
helicopter,
capacity, and then I'm told that there were
that
60
was
souls on
involved,
board.
and,
Who is
colliding
reporting
into the
this?
Potomac right around 9 o'clock. The response
Where are you getting
This
started
is based
in
off of the
Southwest
reporting of
DC,
Eric
not too far away from,
Begelding,
and I know we have two, we're kind of
who is
between two cameras. The one you're looking at
a
on your screen is the
policy
one to the
analyst
north. This is
actually in the
one
DC area. He just
Southwest,
probably happens to be
in
nearby.
in the Buzzard Point
He's
area.
he's a former
over
well,
towards
he's,
the
he
airport.
actually is,
But I just
was
want to
formerly at
caution everybody,
Harvard,
too,
so
as you're
we do
seeing
have to
this
take him with a grain of
coming
The
out
salt.
on
most
your own
specific
social media
information we
feeds,
have. So let's
we're seeing that, and we've been told.
let's analyze it for a moment.
from the
What?
White
And
House
so
now,
then,
we're learning this from the White House that
what
Press
else does it
Secretary
say?
Caroline Leavitt is
5342
confirming-
American.
let's go
60
with this here.
people
I'm
on
gonna go- I
board.
wanna go with that. Let's
Give
go
us the
with
rest.
at least what we're hearing here.
Well, that, I mean,
Multi-agency
this is
search and
obviously
rescue
still
operation
developing
underway in
right now,
Potomac,
so
which is what
it's,
you will see at this
those are
point.
just
Yeah,
the initial
let's hold
reports.
off
We'll
on that-
see.
Well, no,
on that
no,
top
but
one
there's
there.
more than just 5342
again,
No,
American.
what? I mean, that's what we're
Okay,
working
I'm
Well,
gonna
a
say that
passenger,
this is coming in
a
from
passenger
DC police.
aircraft
At
crashed into the
8:53
Potomac
p.m.,
River near
multiple
Reagan
calls
National
received for an
Airport
aircraft
outside
crash
Washington,
above the
D.C.
Potomac
after it
River.
collided
DC
midair
Fire and
with a
EMS, the
helicopter
Metropolitan Police
as
Department,
it
and
approached
multiple
the
partner
runway,
agencies are
according
currently
to the
coordinating a
FAA.
search and
The plane
rescue
was
operation
flight
in the Potomac. This is the thing we need to point out.
5342
There is no
for American
confirmed
Airlines. It
information
departed
on
from
casualties
Wichita,
at this time.
Kansas,
And when you hear the word
earlier
casualties,
on Wednesday.
it takes on different meanings sometimes. Casualties does not
That
equate
is
to
the
deaths.
latest
Sometimes
that
casualties
we have.
means injuries.
Now,
But
flight
let's not get ahead of ourselves at this
So
point.
this was
We're still
landed.
working to
So
get
the
those details,
American airline
as
was
all
landed.
that's coming. Okay, that
Yeah,
was
which-
okay.
well, that's
You
what-
can- so you go ahead and
That's what
preview
we're
that.
hearing.
And then the other
this
was a
coming out of the
helicopter.
White House, Caroline Leavitt, the White
Right.
House press
Now-
And the
secretary,
helicopter
has
is not described
confirmed to
in any
Fox
more
News
detail than
that
helicopter?
President
Is that
Trump
it?
has been
The helicopter is a
made aware
Sikorsky
of this
H-60.
tragedy, and that tragically it does appear
A
that a military
PSA
helicopter
Airlines-
was involved in this crash.
Okay, so
with
we are
this,
getting-
small regional aircraft.
Wow, these are
So, that
multiple.
is coming from the White House.
Okay,
that
here
he
we
is
go.
Aware of
There are
the
two
situation
different.
on the Potomac. He's been briefed on it, and that a military helicopter.
Okay,
we
so
still don't know
that
what
American
kind,
Airlines
what
flight was
kind,
a
but collided with a regional jet
Bombardier
here at the DC
CRJ
airport.
700 regional jet. It was operating flight 5342 for American Airlines.
Okay.
That was a regional jet coming in
All right, let
from
me just
Wichita.
repeat what I've been told.
Right.
The FAA
That's what we are-
has confirmed
that is
that a
currently-
passenger
What
jet
time-
collided
what time
with
do
a
they get, Ted?
helicopter while landing.
This is from the
at Reagan
FAA.
National Airport.
Passenger
don't know
PSA.
how
What
many
does
passengers
whatever?
were on
I
board
got to
the
find out what
plane.
that stands for.
We're working
PSA
on
Airlines
confirming the plane
Bombardier
involved.
CRJ
We've learned that
700
there will
regional
be a
jet
briefing coming
collided
up
in
at,
midair with
at
a
the
Sikorsky
airport. Nana has been
H-60
told by
helicopter while
the
on
Metropolitan
approach
Washington
to runway
Airports Authority.
33
There
at
will be a
Reagan,
briefing
Washington
at Reagan National
Airport
in
around
the
9
terminal
p.m.
coming
local
up
time.
in just a little bit.
PSA was
And I wanna
operating
point something
flight
else.
5342 for
There'll be a
American
briefing.
Airlines from
Just
Wichita.
for location purposes. It's going to happen
on that video.
Okay. Yeah.
near
Why?
Air Canada, but it is
Because
not the airline involved in the crash.
Okay. Yeah, I killed it.
Well, it's a sounds like a state of as you would imagine, a state of confusion, right?
Right.
And the fireboats are in the water, obviously looking for survivors. It wasn't too long ago that a truck drove off one of the bridges, and they had to deploy the fireboats
So
as well. So
here's a report filed 6 minutes ago. According to data from Flight Aware, American Airlines Flight 5342 from Wichita, Kansas, collided with a helicopter, reportedly a DC police helicopter. A webcam video from the Kennedy Center, so that may be where we're watching it from the Kennedy Center, captured the incident. And that's the picture they show. There was a significant response from fire, EMS, and police for an aircraft reported down in the Potomac near Reagan National Airport. Initial reports of a possible midair collision. Victims have been found by one of the rescue boats. And that's, and there seems to be someone who posted something on X. Let's see if we can get that. Well, right now we're not. Okay, well, we'll do the best we can. But now we add another one to it. It was a police helicopter, supposedly, right?
Either police or military.
Police last I saw, the police denied it.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Okay.
how long ago that denial was.
Well, that'll keep happening. The facts will keep, emerging and changing.
11 minutes ago, DC police say the crash does not involve a police helicopter.
It either does or doesn't. Right? We'll have to figure it out. It either does or it doesn't.
So that's the latest we have, and so we'll obviously follow this closely. As we try to get the right news out on this.
Yeah, and that water in the Potomac is cold right now. So every second counts when it comes to this response.
I'm gonna put the volume back on because
right now as we head over towards the airport area, and that you can really see from across the Potomac just the scope of this operation at this hour. And the plane itself, based on flight data that I'm seeing, this is a Bombardier CRJ 700 jet that was apparently involved in this.
Do you have information on the type of helicopter?
So you could see
Sikorsky
just in terms of
H-60.
the operation out there.
Is that a
And
Black Hawk?
presumably a lot of the roads
I
leading into
doubt
Reagan
it.
National at this hour are going to be closed. The airport, all flights have been shut down.
Yeah,
The
government
terminal, at least at last check, was open. But
I
we're
lived in
getting to the
DC
point
for a
that
while,
they
and I know
were,
that the only
a lot of
helicopters I
those,
really saw
airlines would
flying
close for the
that
evening
low
anyway.
in
Everything would come in
DC
and-
were
Hang on one
military-related
second.
helicopters.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
had people
Okay.
coming to and from the Pentagon.
And in terms of
That's
the
what I'm
flight
thinking.
path for this,
Or
one, again,
the other option
Wichita's
would
not
be
a very
for
large
healthcare
airport,
purposes,
but
they
what I'm seeing
allow
right now is
emergency
set to take off
transport
or
via
took off around
helo
5:18
in
p.m.
DC. But DC, otherwise, the airspace
And
above
it was
DC
supposed
is
to land right
quite
around
regulated.
93. As we mentioned, this apparently happened right before landing, right there near Reagan National Airport. And now you're seeing the boats on the water. And now you're getting a sense of what rescue crews have ahead of them this evening with
Yeah,
that
and there
flight.
is
Again,
ice
not a
on the
very large
Potomac
plane,
River right
but
now, so
regardless,
it
a
is-
substantial
Have you,
response. This
can you
plane,
get a good picture of it on the river?
Based on what I'm seeing,
Yeah, let me
it
cue that
made
up.
the rounds today. It came into DC, or was set to come into DC earlier today. And it makes these runs quite a bit. It goes between DC and many other regional routes.
That is all speculation at this point, but hey, anything could happen.
I'm looking in terms of some of this information that at least I'm coming across here, but we're working to get just the flight path from FlightAware Yeah, let's pull it up right now. So FlightAware keeps track of these.
DC Fire and EMS said
you
a
can
small
see on the
aircraft
screen
crashed
here.
into the Potomac River Wednesday night.
Okay, go
In
down
a
just a
joint
little bit, and you
statement
can see where it does
from the
that loop.
DCFD and the Metropolitan Police
No,
Department,
no,
officials said
yeah, it
that
does that
multiple
loop where it
calls
goes
came
down the
in for an
Potomac,
aircraft
and it
crash
does that
above the
northern
Potomac
approach
near
as it
Reagan
comes up along the
National
Potomac,
Airport
as the flight paths
just
generally do,
after
coming up
8:50.
into Reagan
So we
National
originally
Airport,
had
and
9
right
o'clock, but let's get a little
around
more
there,
specific.
which
Right
again,
after
where you see where
8:50.
that green line
The
stops.
Federal Aviation
Let's go back,
Administration
go
said
back
that
up to the map,
preliminary
please.
investigators
You
believe
can see where
that a
they were
regional
told
jet
the
with
calls
American
came in. The
Airlines
calls are coming into DC Fire
that was
and
approaching
EMS.
DCA's
Generally,
runways
right around that
collided with a
area
helicopter.
in
The plane
Southwest
had
DC.
departed from
The first
Kansas, as we
calls,
know Wichita
it
can.
had said First Street Southwest. At least that would mean maybe
60
somebody called
person
it in from
passenger
First Street
plane.
Southwest. But that's what we're seeing. And again, it took
And
off
it
at
fell in the river.
5:39 p.m. Central Time. It was set to land
Police
just
boats
around 9
responded.
o'clock, and that's when this crash happened. Again, this was a regional jet involved in the crash. And,
Everything was halted?
Now it says all inbound flights being held at their origin
As of
until
10
Wednesday
p.m.,
at 10:30 p.m. And I would
no
imagine,
news of casualties.
it's going to be a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
No news of, I mean,
You
Well,
mentioned that they did.
Well, I
set
don't think
a
they want to give a
casualty
number,
collection
right?
area,
yeah.
There has to have been casualties.
like an area for people
It would be
to
unbelievable.
gather. That has been established, from what we understand, or is in the process of being established.
We just know where the briefing's going to happen. We know it's going to happen at the airport. By the way, Congressman Don Beyer saying, I'm following the response to a reported aviation incident at DCA, in touch with airport officials as we try to learn more about what happened and why.
So,
this is obviously
keep
very
us up to
worrying.
date.
I urge the community to please let first responders do their jobs and save
Keep us up to date.
And if you have any
the latest
information, please
coming down
comment.
from DC Fire and EMS as we give
Yeah,
you that
I'm
live
reading,
report at Sky
so
Fox,
of course we,
that DC
again,
Fire and EMS is now in joint
have
command,
reports of
with
an
DC
American
Police Department. So at this
Airlines
point, it appears
flight
that DC Police are going to be
crashing on
at least
approach
the
to
lead agency
Reagan
getting
International
information out
Airport
to
with
the
a
public,
helicopter, an
as we continue to get these details coming
Sikorsky
in.
H-60, where I'm reading as we speak on the ground reports
All right. So as we
of
continue to
some
follow this,
eyewitnesses.
and again, I stress, while some of this information may not be new,
And
if
so
you've been
we're
watching
trying
us
to
for
make
the
sure
last,
that we
going on half hour
So
now,
it has been
Flight
confirmed that a
5342, which
Metropolitan
was
Police
inbound to
Department
Reagan National
helicopter
Airport
was
from
not
Wichita,
involved.
Kansas.
It
They
is.
collided with
That's
a
what it
military
says here.
helicopter
That's
From
shortly before
Fox.
landing at Reagan
Okay,
National
they are
Fire
Airport. The
boats
calls
are
came in
on
around
scene.
8:53 p.m. We don't have
All
any idea how
takeoffs
many
and
people
landings
were on board that plane, but again,
out.
it is a passenger flight. We have seen a massive interagency response involving Fairfax County Police, Fairfax County Fire. They were the ones
So
dropping
DC,
some of
yes,
those
so the
boats
latest I
into the
have as
Potomac
well,
right
they are
outside of Gravelly
denying that
Point, which is where Arnana
DC,
St. Ubuntu has been talking with
police
first responders there. Obviously not getting in the way of the response. And look, I mean, there have
so the
been
latest
a number of
we
incidents
have
that happened
again,
at
the
Reagan
latest we
National over the
have
years. This is
American
not-
Airlines
this is not
flight
anything new,
5342 from
unfortunately, but it is
Wichita,
rare, and that says a
Kansas,
lot
flying
to,
into Reagan
the level
National
of
Airport,
safety we've seen in our
which
nation's
is
air traffic
the
control
the
system,
airport for Washington D.C. It's on the Virginia side of the border.
Decades.
Did
Rare,
appear to
I mean, we
collide
have
with a
all done the stories,
Sikorsky
about the
H-60
shortages
helicopter
and, with the
as it made
FAA
its way
and so forth, and the close calls.
to
But as
landing,
you mentioned,
so it never did
all
land.
in all, when you look at the big picture of
We've seen
things,
video that does
it is
appear to
rare.
show the midair
It doesn't happen
collision.
often, and especially
And
something
maybe we'll
of this
play that
magnitude
again
does
here
not happen often.
I want
shortly.
to point out, as we
But
mentioned,
again, a plane and a helicopter have collided in midair at
Senator Ted
Reagan
Cruz,
Airport,
who is sounding off at this
just
point.
outside
Again,
Washington,
many of these
D.C.
senators fly in and out
The
of Reagan
emergency
National Airport
services
consistently.
have now launched a
He says, "We don't know
significant
how
search
many
and
on board
rescue
were lost.
operation
We know there are
following the
fatalities."
reports of
So that's coming from Senator
fatalities.
Ted Cruz. You'd
And again,
imagine
authorities
at this
are
point they
also
would get some of that
investigating the
information,
collision. Details
perhaps
are
ahead
still
before it's distilled
coming
down
in.
to the media.
That on the board
But again,
now
this
is a
flight leaving
live
Wichita,
shot
which again is not a
of
very
what it looks
large
like
airport,
right now.
but still
Okay.
a
You can
sizable
see, I
number of
can
people
see
fly that
moving
route
from left to
consistently.
right. It looks like a fire truck.
Looks like more fire trucks than I can possibly count, as well as police on the scene right now.
Yeah, they may be attempting to light the river because if you looked at the last moments of it, the plane and possibly the helicopter fell into the river, and they have fireboats there attempting to save people, but I don't see fireboats. Do you, Ted? Look at that. I do not see
I
fireboats.
think that's what you see in the water. Are those boats in the water?
Oh, I don't know. It looks more like they're on land, but
So what we're showing you on the screen here, this is the video captured from the Kennedy Center.
it looks, and of course, it's not a clear shot, but it looks like all those lights are vehicles that are on the road,
So we're
and the water is separate from it. See,
right.
they make it even bigger. You can see the lights reflecting into the water. But what I don't see, and I'm surprised they're not showing us, is the rescue operation. There doesn't appear to be any rescue operation there, does it?
That's right, Mayor. A significant search and rescue operation is underway. That does appear to be boats in the water. And so we're trying to gather information. We're feverishly working the phones. We have friends up and down that very area, including the place where we filmed a few of our shows these last few weeks. I'm in touch with our friend Ryan and others.
I think right now you're getting about as good a view as we have of the rescue operation. If you take a look at the screen, you'll see that there's a helicopter up above on the right there, and you see two what appear to be rescue areas on the right and the left. It seems to me that's the water rescue going on.
And they look like they're in the water. Oh, yeah. And I'm getting reports too that Caroline Levitt was on one of the nightly shows, and she has commented, and she says it appears to be a military helicopter colliding with a regional jet, which is kind of what we've known up to this point. But
And now, if you spread the shot out, there seem to be 3 rescue areas, not just 2. You see that? Count them from left to right. 1, 2, 3. A helicopter up high, a helicopter low. They say the video is being taken from the wharf. Originally, they had said the Kennedy Center. Now, so we can get our bearings right, where is the wharf, Ted?
Southwest DC.
In DC. They mean the wharf in DC.
Yeah, in DC, looking at your,
right?
that's in DC looking across, yes. Was this 8:53 p.m. or was it 9? Around 9.
This is live. I hesitate to put the sound on because it comes on so loud, but
No,
you want to give it a try?
No, we can put the I can take that very shot and feed it directly in to our audience.
Because she's doing a good job there of at least explaining. She's showing the helicopter. That's the rescue helicopter.
Flight number, right? 5342.
This is on Fox. This is being done, believe it or not, by Fox Atlanta, not Fox DC.
And now we do have word that President Trump has been briefed on the plane crash, and we'll see if we can get a response out of him soon. But as
I mean, this, although not the same, this does remind me of the plane crash in the early part of the Reagan administration, where a Florida Airlines flight, upon takeoff, went right down in between the 14th Street, the various structures of the 14th Street Bridge. It was shortly before Reagan's first, I believe, inaugural address. And he invited the hero to the address, which began the practice of inviting people to the address. I'd never done before.
So what we're looking at now on our screen,
and I do believe actually it would have been in 82, because it was the second year that Trump was in office. Are you getting the sound?
Yep.
because we're missing a lot.
This was the
if I
location. That's how we
repeat-
got here. We literally followed the sirens.
There is a lot of
We
chatter
came
online, and
here,
that you can
but now
tell
it looks like
for
everyone's
yourself. Does
pulling
it look
back
like
out.
the
I see
helicopter
more crews
like
heading
deliberately
towards the
crashed
airport.
into the plane?
Well, I
I'm
don't
just
know
not
that
too
you can
sure
tell
what
that at this point.
happened
Yeah, a lot
here.
of like
Again,
the
if
pilots,
it
a lot of
wasn't
people
close
saying on
enough, if
Twitter, for
they didn't
example, that
find anything, but it seems
as
like
a
they got the
pilot, it
word
looked like
to
it
pull
was
out,
someone
and now
crashing
everyone's
right into the
heading
plane.
to Reagan
I don't
National.
think
So
I
I'll keep
think
my
we-
eye on that and
Please
see
do.
if it's something that we can even
Speculate.
get to,
Well,
or there's a
everything's
body
fairly
of water
speculative at this
possibly
point.
that they're going to, because again,
Well,
they
we're
pulled the
still
boats
staying
out.
live
All
with
right.
you again. The latest
So
we
there's a
know.
lot
thank-
happening here, I will
American
say.
Cat
Kurt
Flight.
talking?
Yep.
Go ahead.
No,
This
thank you.
is
I just
louder?
wanted to point out to our viewers, because
Louder
we were
for our viewers.
relaying the information for the FAA.
Want a
Now
headset?
American
I'd
Airlines
like
is
to hear it
confirming
too.
that Flight 5342, which is operated by PSA, which is a subsidiary, it's a code share partner, rather, with service from Wichita, Kansas to Reagan National, has been involved, and they're just calling it an incident, which in situations like these, they're usually opaque on the terms as we get more information. Nana, go ahead, do what you got to do. We'll check back in with you in a little bit, but
We're
again,
going to try and follow. Yep.
do it. Good,
Yeah.
good
Well, I
thing.
think
Yeah,
she
please.
knows how it
Please,
happened, which
please,
we
yeah,
don't.
yeah.
We're reconstructing from pictures.
This is all
She
trickling
has
in bit by
verbal
bit.
account.
Yeah, because we were able to see at one point, Jim, because you mentioned the boats going into the water. We were able to see in the footage at one point, it looked like helicopters with searchlights
Put it on there,
going
Mayor.
over
It's
the
not
water, trying to
getting louder on
determine
here,
perhaps
unfortunately.
Why
you know,
don't we
where to
put
put
it
the
on
boats
here
in.
and put a
But,
microphone near it?
again, with it being so dark and with us only having
Why is it not? Is it
these
not?
two shots,
clear.
it's
Right.
really hard to
Not as
tell.
clear, but does it
It's really
come through?
hard
We
to
don't need we don't need
paint that
clear.
picture.
Put
Let's
the
go.
sound
Hey,
on
can
there.
we go? Can we pull that
Operatic,
roof cam video back up?
Put the sound
I just
on
want to
here,
share
guys.
that again, because I know
Back
that
on there.
when it first started surfacing online,
I have to do
there was a lot of speculation as
Put it
to,
on.
look, you
I
have to be
have to
skeptical
do
about certain things you see online, and that's why we didn't want to share it with you. I just want to share that again, because I know that when it first started surfacing online, there was a lot of speculation as to, look, you have to be skeptical about certain things you see online, and that's why we didn't want to share it with you
Ted?
so we confirm the
Let me see.
authenticity.
Could we move your microphone
Right near the Kennedy Center.
near where the sound is coming?
Sean's going to do that right now.
Moment of impact, and you'll see it again. So disregard the plane on top. You
There
can
we
see a
go.
Flash of light.
We're gonna watch it now.
Beneath it, and that is what we're focusing on. Military
Now look at
helicopter
that.
and a passenger flight right here. Moment
No,
of
no,
impact.
no, no, no,
Three,
no,
two,
no.
there.
Down, guys.
And you know what's amazing at a time like this, you know, a city that's always on the move, you have people driving through, driving in and out of DC over towards Virginia, and you see this happen.
Can you hear it in
You gotta
the
look where it goes through head. It's usually such a majestic sight to see.
Rob, are you hearing it?
Landing? Yes. And that's why Gravelly Point is such a popular place, not just for adults, but you know, for kids to watch that happening. And again, you know, these takeoffs happen, you know, dozens a day out of Reagan National and hundreds and thousands across the country without incident. But this is what we're seeing at this hour. And Angie, one of the big stories, I realize we're still working to get more information on this, but I just want to share, you know, one of the big debates that's kind of filled time in recent months, and this was something that has been years for that matter, that people have told us on Fox 5, that lawmakers have told us, there was a lot of concern about the level of traffic coming in and out of Reagan Airport, because you don't just have the airport and the passenger traffic, you have, you have JBAD, you have the Boeing Air Force Base, not too far away from there. So there's a lot of traffic, but that's a credit to our air traffic controllers who were able to conduct themselves and facilitate traffic out here without incident almost all the time.
Recently, didn't Senator Tim Kaine, I mean, he was very vocal against that, right? Adding more flights to the airport, because the airport was already as busy as it is with shortened resources.
Where you were on your story earlier. Warner, it was, and the lawmakers.
Good evening to you both, Jim and Angie. So we were actually coming from Silver Spring, Maryland. It was pretty easy, surprisingly, to get here, but we did pass Gravelly Point Park, where there was a huge police presence. And I just have to say, right now we're outside Reagan National Airport, where people pick up and drop off their loved ones. There's definitely a heightened sense of urgency out here. I have chills up and down my spine. I'm going to have our photographer Jesse actually pan to show you what we're looking at.
Hang on, Sierra. Let me interrupt you for a second. Associated Press confirming now the helicopter that collided with the jet was flown by the Army. They're citing AP sources. So I just wanted to get that information out there as that's coming in. And go ahead and continue, please.
Absolutely. As you just mentioned, Jim, a source does confirm to me that there was a tragic mid-air collision around 9 p.m. that happened over the Potomac River involving an American airline commercial flight 5342 from Wichita, Kansas, trying to land here at DCA that crashed with the Black Hawk helicopter. As you just mentioned, Jim, now we have clarification whether it was military, government, or law enforcement. You just said the AP put out an alert saying that it was Army. And a source does tell me there are expected to be around 60 individuals currently unaccounted for, and authorities fear that there may not be too many survivors. Emergency services are currently on the scene of this collision. As you can see in front of me, I've never seen this amount of flashing blue lights before my eyes. Right now, they're conducting search and rescue operations under pretty challenging conditions. Earlier, it was warmer, but the temperatures have now started to drop. I'm told this is an all hands on deck effort with local agencies, including DC, Alexandria, Arlington, Fairfax, both police and fire and EMS personnel, as well as federal agencies like the National Park Service. And I'm told that DCA actually requested MPS's helicopter known as the Eagle to assist in the search and rescue operations, which is a pretty big deal. And my photographer, Jesse, actually reminded me that this incident marks the first major aviation accident in the Potomac River since January 13th, 1982. You may remember that it crashed into the 14th Street Bridge shortly after takeoff from Reagan National Airport. The aircraft plunged into the icy Potomac River, resulting in more than 70 fatalities, including 4 motorists on the bridge. And that was according to our past reporting. And sadly, only 5 individuals did survive during that disaster. But back out here live again, you can see there's a huge police presence. We do know that DCA has stopped all flights coming in and out at this time. Media is being asked to go to Terminal 1 right now. You just have to think and wonder about how the families who know that their loved ones may have been on that flight are feeling right now. There's definitely a
I
sense
said, well, that's
of
nice. I thank God too. And they said, no, we thought you were on the aircraft.
So we're going to go down inside the
Staying
airport
with
right
me,
now, Jim and
and my
Angie, to
staff couldn't
try
get
to speak
home,
with
and they all
families
came
and
to our
people who
house
may be waiting
for a
their loved
spaghetti dinner.
ones.
All right, Sierra Fox for us there at the airport, and we're just getting new information right now. This is coming from, Mike Thomas just sharing this information with us. As we mentioned, that big response, and we saw from Nana a lot of those boats being pulled out of the water at Gravelly Point and moved elsewhere. Buoy data. So we talked about the water temperature, 35.4 degrees at this hour in the Potomac and the buoys right around Reagan National. So when you talk about water temperatures like that, that is cold enough where you can lose consciousness in just about 15 to 30 minutes. Oh. It can be fatal in just about 30 to 90 minutes. And, you know, look, I realize we can, you know, we're just mentioning this is we're mentioning that because clearly this is a water rescue situation at this hour. And when you look at the air temperature out there mixed with the water temperature, it is not just treacherous for those involved in this crash, but also those who were trying to save some lives.
Yeah, and just to reiterate exactly what we know at this point, because there are a lot of unknowns, it has been confirmed that this regional plane, the American Airlines 5342, possibly with 60 passengers aboard, including crew, coming in from Wichita upon arrival, collided with a military helicopter flown by the U.S. Army. A ground stop is in place here at DCA. We know a terminal does remain open at this time. The President Trump, has been briefed, this according to his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. He's been briefed on the incident and is offering his thoughts and his prayers with all of those involved, along with Vice President J.D. Vance, getting word that he also is aware of the situation and is asking everyone to say a prayer for everybody involved in this mid-air collision. Just getting new information from the FAA now on the airline. This is, again, we're saying it's an American Airlines flight. It's flown by a subsidiary, PSA Airlines, a Bombardier CRJ 700 regional jet colliding midair with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter while on approach to Reagan National, again, right around 9 o'clock, which was the scheduled time that this plane was supposed to land. 5342 departed from Wichita. National Transportation Safety Board, Angie, you were talking about this. They're going to lead the investigation. But again, we're still waiting to hear from the media. They'll oversee everything, but they'll work in conjunction, of course, with the FAA to see how something like this could happen. What you notice when we looked at that video from the vantage point of from the Kennedy Center, where you see basically what appears to be those two aircrafts coming together and conjoining into that fireball before it just disappears and falls out of the sky. You also see, and you draw people's attention, don't look at that, you know, up above, don't look at that aircraft. It's a busy airport.
Yeah,
there are multiple planes at any given time coming through, and it really is, you know, the logistics and the flight path, what they do is pretty darn incredible every single day.
Flight
considering
800
the amount of
crash,
traffic that goes in
which
and
was
out
quite a bit
of our
larger
nation's
than this.
capital. And as you know, mistakes
You,
can happen, and
give you a
in
little
this case, we don't know what
perspective
happened.
on what's
And we
happened.
actually are still waiting to find out if one or both of the aircraft
Very
still are in the
aircraft.
water, and
It
how
becomes
many
that much
people are
more
involved, if there are
upsetting, right?
survivors, if anybody has been rescued at this point.
Yeah.
We have
you have it.
our crew on the ground. Sierra Fox, you saw there at Reagan National, working her way into the terminal, and hopefully we'll be able to get some more information from her. We still don't have a timetable on this press briefing that we're expected to get from officials there at DCA. We're hoping it's been, what, maybe a little over an hour and a half, 90 minutes or so since this news broke.
By the way, we mentioned Ted Cruz, and the reason his insight on this is actually quite important is because, as a senator, he is on the Commerce Committee, which oversees transportation. Chair of the Commerce Committee, which covers transportation. So, you know, he would be one of the ones getting a briefing. Again, we heard from Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas, Congressman Don Beyer, who represents Northern Virginia, also getting some of that information coming in. But if you know anybody who is you know, heading into D.C., I would imagine this is not just going to impact our traffic tonight, but at this point, what it could do tomorrow for travel coming in and out of Reagan National Airport. We have crews all over the scene tonight. Again, we're working different angles here just because all of this information is coming in, and we're trying to sort through all of it and get through a lot of the noise. But a lot of the things that were suspected throughout the night have so far checked out. Again, military helicopter, which the initial reports had said it was a D.C. police helicopter. It is not. Military helicopter. Passenger flight, those planes, the CRJ 700s.
Parts of the plane are in different places.
70 people. So,
or maybe
that
parts
seems
of
to
the
be
plane and the helicopter.
the top of the line number that we're looking at least right now, but we don't have confirmation how many people were on board.
And we also know that American Airlines, they have come out and said that they are aware of a crash and one of their planes being involved, but they've been very vague at this point, only to say that they will provide more information as they get it. So
the rescue operations, they might be lights
as we are waiting to get more information
that are lighting up the river. Right.
On what goes on with these in these sort of situations. Let's bring in Richard Levy. He is an aviation expert. He's joining us right now on Zoom. Richard, you know, first of all, let's talk about situations like this, which is something, thankfully, is so rare in American aviation. However, Richard Levy, he's an aviation expert on Zoom.
No?
system of safety protocol. We just mentioned the last time we saw a major incident at Reagan National was back in 1982 when Air Florida Flight 90 went down. Right. It's been some time that we've talked about something like this in our nation.
It has been, and that is correct. And it's going to point at, as I mentioned, a mid-air collision on what we say sharp funnel, that is close to the airport just before landing. Who was cleared for what, and which airplane was in the right aircraft, I should say, the helicopter of the PSA, which was in the wrong position at the wrong time. That is a big mystery. Obviously, you have a different speed of the bomber 700 jet versus the military aircraft, the military helicopter, I'm sorry, which is going to be flying at 30, 40 knots. The regional aircraft will be flying at my guess 120 knots in aviation. That's about 140 miles per hour. So you have a huge difference in speed. That brings the question to mind again. If one aircraft, the PSA was on final approach to land on 01, that is up the Potomac River, basically, and then the military helicopter on 33. Where did the mid-air collision occur, and where was the mistake made? You'll get the voice recorder and the cockpit voice recorder off of the PSA aircraft. It'll be recovered, and they'll play that back. And of course, the air traffic control tapes are already, they're always recorded. So I think we're going to put this thing together very fast. I'm not saying tonight or tomorrow, but rapidly. You have a lot of evidence coming out.
Yeah, and in your experience, Captain, because considering the time of night, and I believe the FAA, when they put their statement out, they said how the plane was cleared to, or was arriving and landing on runway 33, which that could be any runway. I don't know the layout of the ground there, but considering the fact that it seemed like a good day, we did have a lot of high wind out there, but overall, a clear night. To be out there in the skies, visibility and issues. I mean, I know it's all preliminary right now, but in your experience, the possibility of something like this happening, choosing the wrong runway after being cleared for a certain one. I mean, what are the chances that that can happen, and what could be the factors involved?
Yeah, mistaken identification. We have electronic equipment on the aircraft, for example, for runway 01, that allows you to land in very low visibility. It's called the Instrument Landing System. On runway 33, I haven't flown into Washington, Reagan. I flew internationally before I retired. In any event, it either has an ILS, which is very accurate, or an approach, to keep it simple for your listeners or viewers, that is based on GPS, global proximity systems. But so there should have been adequate spacing, and there would have been. And why there wasn't, that's going to be a matter of question. But you do raise a very, very good point. Regional airlines, larger, the 747s, 777s, Airbus, 737s, etc., and this regional airplane, they have TCAS, traffic collision avoidance system, and it picks up an imminent collision, and you get an alert through the speakers on in the aircraft. It says traffic, traffic. So you're seeing the other aircraft, even a helicopter. And then if a collision is imminent, now I'm not saying the next second, in about 20 seconds, it'll say climb, climb, or of course not descend, descend. You're very close to the ground. Or so that's going to be a question. Did TCAS, is TCAS, TCAS, did the military aircraft, I flew military, but a military transport. And so I don't know if the military helicopter had the TCAS. It's a big question. Why didn't it go off and alert one of the crews? Go ahead.
Captain Lee, I want to ask you one more question, then we have to go. When you're flying into DC airspace, I mean, you have low-flying helicopters. You have the question of, are they lit up? Are they visible? Is there much communication between military pilots and commercial pilots?
Often military, for the obvious occurrence of a situation with the White House right there, most of the communications are on the same frequency we call VHF. Military can use UHF, ultra high frequency, but normally around Washington, Reagan, everybody's going to be on the same frequency. And that brings up a good question. I'm hearing a helicopter cleared for an approach on near the same runway I'm on. That would make me be very concerned.
All right. That is Captain Richard Lee, the airline expert, joining us here on Fox 5. Sir, thank you very much for your insight, unfortunately, under these circumstances. We want to go to Shamari Stone, who is now out and about as we continue to cover this from every possible angle. Show your grappling point now. Talk about what you've seen trying to get there.
Well, I've seen a multi-agency response when you have these, you have fire EMS, you have U.S. Park Police, everyone converging on Reagan National Airport. Many people have been coming out here trying to get to the airport, and they've been stopping by this area. As you look right over here by Gravely Point, you can see all the vehicles, people outside of their cars. They plan on coming to the airport, and you had flights that were supposed to land, and they were going to pick up their loved ones. Well, right now they are just waiting here, and across the George Washington Parkway, right over there, you can see the flashing lights, and that is where you have the multi-agency search and rescue operation underway in the Potomac River. After this small American Airlines flight 5342 from Wichita collided with an Army helicopter near the Reagan National Airport, you also have U.S. Park Police who have closed down Gravely Point, and I'm going to pause for a second so you can see this is what people are seeing as emergency crews come by George Washington Parkway. Take a listen.
Or, frankly, that they're able to get in a situation like this. I'm going to try to put this down for a moment. Let's see if we can put this down for a moment. And this way we can go back on the air. We've got several computers and iPads and everything out, trying to see if we can get more up-to-date information. I think we're at the up-to-date point. At this point, obviously, both aircraft are down. The jet, the 700 jet, which now keeps getting reported. I think American Airlines public relations got involved quickly, and are making it clear that although it flies under the general aegis of American Airlines, this is really a PSA plane, not ours, and PSA is the one that takes care of it. So all that would tell you is, I really hate that protect your backside stuff. All that would tell you is that American Airlines doesn't want to take any responsibility for it. Sometime I'll tell you the terrible experience I had with TWA with Flight 800 that soured me on airlines and their responsibility to people. But in any event, the airline is down, appears to be somewhat intact. We don't know how much. You can't see it very clearly. They seem to be conducting from far away. The picture looks like they're conducting a rescue operation. The unfortunate thing is, this is my observation from a very sketchy video. They're only conducting one rescue operation, which means they're not conducting a rescue operation, at least on the water, regarding the helicopter. They reported that there were 60 people on the airplane. Then they reported, independent of that, and of course not coherently, but this is no criticism. This is what happens in an emergency. That 16 people are unaccounted for. Well, I assume they're talking about the helicopter, because there are 60 on the helicopter. And if only 16 of the 60 are unaccounted for, well, then the rest have been recovered either alive or their bodies. Doesn't seem to me they've had the time to recover that many. So for now, can you determine for me, any one of you, if a Sikorsky helicopter can hold 16 people? Sikorsky model. I mean, there are helicopters that can, but we have a military helicopter here not a transport helicopter, unless it's a military transport helicopter. Um, the strange thing about the collision is, and we'll watch it again, and should, because every time you watch it, you get something else out of it. It appears to be, and we're looking at it right now, several hours later. It appears to be a pretty clear night. I mean, uh, I am correct about that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what exactly Sikorsky H-60.
11 troops with equipment.
Okay, so 16 is a strange number. Maybe it can do 16 configured certain way without the equipment. But in any event, when you look, and we'll take another look very, very quick. They keep showing the. Are you showing that on the air right now, Ted? So now you're watching it again, and you see that one goes off in one direction.
One goes into the drink, like you can see.
Yeah, and I think that was the airplane that went into the. Yeah, I got to look around the microphone. Oh, there's one goes into the water, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I can.
There's two different angles. Yeah. This isn't blown up. This is blowing it up. This is the only one that's going to give you any kind of view of it. And it's impossible really to say what piece is what.
It looks like the larger craft went into the water, and that would have to be the airplane, correct?
Yeah, who's reading?
See that right there, rather close to the shore. Now, would you like to connect this to that?
I mean, you'd have to move too then.
I can move, but I mean, then we'd have another
We have that. I know.
button.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now.
What do you want to put on that screen?
Other versions.
Then you would move?
Yeah, we can move, or we could put a different version on there.
How many versions? I mean, of the actual collision.
There are several live updates going on.
You want to go live?
Yes, it's a collision alert system, but it is not.
The U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter collided with a Passion aircraft at a crew of 3 and was not carrying any VIPs. Senior Army officials often use Black Hawks for travel in the Washington, D.C. area. Witness said, and here we have a witness account. Witness said he saw a stream of sparks after the plane suddenly banked right. Art Schulman told CNN he was driving home when he witnessed the plane crash near Reagan National Airport. Everything seemed normal as he drove along the George Washington Parkway. Let's try to visualize it because we all know this area very well. The highway that runs by the airport, he said. As he watched the planes coming into land, one in particular caught his eye. Initially, I saw the plane and it looked fine, normal. It was right about to head over land, maybe 120 feet above the water. It looked like a fairly small end, but normal sized passenger jet, Schulman said. 3 seconds later, the plane was banked all the way to the right past 90 degrees. I could see the underside of it. It was lit up a very bright yellow, and there was a stream of sparks underneath it, he said, adding that it was high off the ground. Schulman said following that, everything went dark. I didn't see any helicopter. It's a very, very dark night out tonight. So anything that's not illuminated, you can't really see. So I didn't see the other aircraft, but I saw the plane banking at an angle that a plane shouldn't bank. And I saw sparks flying, he said. Schulman said everything happened so quickly, I didn't see the plane hit the ground. I didn't see flames or an explosion or smoke. I didn't see emergency light. It was so brief. Now, if we can interpret that, it sounds like the plane at the very last minute was trying to avoid the helicopter, and that's why it banged. It also seems he didn't see it hit the ground because it went in the water. Those are all assumptions, right? But that seems like pretty safe assumptions. Trump's new transportation secretary monitoring the crash from FAA headquarters. That's good because Buttigieg would show up about a week later after his vacation, right? The general manager of Washington's Transit Authority announced that the agency is mobilizing resources to support rescue efforts and assist travelers affected by flight diversions. The response includes sending warming buses and extending transit services, including running additional trains to accommodate passengers rerouted to Dulles International Airport, which is pretty much about an hour away, right? Particularly if you have to do it in a circumlocuitous way. Tragic news at DCA tonight, and our thoughts are with victims. WMATA has sent warming buses to support rescue, and we're working to assist at Dulles Airport with diverted flights by running extra Silver Line trains and to keep Silver open later to get people downtown. More info to come. Randy Clark of the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority said on X. Now, that informs me of something I didn't know. I kind of assumed, but I wasn't sure of. You can go by train directly from Reagan to Dulles. Is that right? That's what they're saying.
Silverland.
I don't know. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. I mean, that's what they're suggesting. American Airlines says 60 passengers and 4 crew on board. So now we get a clarification of that. American Airlines told CNN Wednesday night there were 60 passengers and 4 crew on board the flight that collided on approach to Reagan National Airport. So it's 60 and 4 crew. And it appears the latest information we have is that there were 3 that were on the helicopter, right? That's what I thought I heard. with the Sikorsky. But this one is pretty current. This one is 19 minutes ago. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas, 12 minutes ago, posted on X. Tonight, we received devastating news of what can only be described as nothing short of a nightmare. A plane traveling to the nation's capital from Wichita, carrying roughly 60 passengers, collided with a military helicopter. My prayer is that God wraps his arms around each and every victim, that he continues to be with their families. Marshall said he's in touch with local and national authorities asking for answers and will continue to demand more information as this unfolds. American Airlines says this is 22 minutes ago. American Airlines says they're aware of reports that Flight 5342, operated by PSA, has been involved in an incident. PSA is a regional airline that operates flights on behalf of American. We're aware of reports that American Eagle Flight 5342, operated by PSA, with service from Wichita, Kansas, to Washington Reagan, has been involved in an incident. We will provide information as it becomes available. That was kind of perfunctory, huh? American, the official designation is American Airlines, American Eagle Flight. I guess that's what they use for their regional flights. 5342, operated by PSA. J.D. Vance is monitoring it near Reagan Airport. Vice President J.D. Vance addressed the midair collision near Reagan Airport on Wednesday night, calling on the nation to unite in prayer. Please say a prayer for everyone involved in the midair collision. U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. So, as you thought originally, it's a Black Hawk. Collided with passenger aircraft near Washington on Wednesday. Trump was briefed on it 39 minutes ago. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed that President Donald Trump has been informed about an incident involving a military helicopter and a regional jet near Washington, D.C. during a brief interview with Sean Hannity on Fox News Wednesday night. There are many agencies that are working on this response right now. Both federal and local law enforcement are working on the ground to try to save as many lives as possible. And the president will continue to monitor the situation, Leavitt said, urging the public to remain calm and follow guidance from law enforcement as they work to respond to the situation. The thoughts and prayers of the entire Trump administration are with all those involved. DC police said it was coordinating a search and rescue in the Potomac, along with other agencies, after receiving reports of a passenger crash. In a joint statement with DC Fire and MPD, Metropolitan Police Department, police said there is no confirmed information on casualties at this time. First call to the police was at 8:53. And as we said, the Reagan Airport is now closed and will remain closed, well, I guess until this is resolved, right? We're not going to see anything until much later. So, Ted, do you want to go back to the live coverage just to see if there's anything?
Just yet. Again, guys, the best I can do is tell you that weather probably not a factor in this. I think I would have to bow to the aircraft expert from earlier who mentioned probably going to be some sort of communication issues, but of course we'll await on any official word as I send it back into
Are we heading back to the airport? Then it turned around and went south again. And there was a lot of
Mike,
turbulence.
thank you. Looking at some news from the Associated Press as they continue to track this just as we are. They are citing audio from the air traffic control tower around the time of the crash. A controller heard asking the helicopter, PAT-25, do you have the CRJ in sight, referring to the passenger aircraft. Tower, did you see that? Another pilot is heard calling seconds after the apparent collision. And then at that point, the tower started diverting other aircraft away from Reagan National Airport. As mentioned, all inbound flights are being held now to at least 5 a.m., which means at this hour, and what I want to do is just as we, I'm going to try to take a look and see where some of these planes are coming in from, because there aren't many at this hour, but there are still some. Coast Guard is now being deployed. Every available resource being deployed by way of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, to respond to this plane crash. So this is the first test of a very new and very nascent administration. But unfortunately, we have been through these situations before. It's just that we haven't had one of these to contend with in a long time. As mentioned before, Kenneth pointed this out. It is a very crowded airspace. And this has been something that has been the bone of contention for many lawmakers. If you recall, fairly recently, it was Congress cleared the addition of more flights. Now, we can tell you that it's very unlikely that there's a direct correlation, but when there were the concerns about the additional air traffic moving in through that area, that was something that certainly came up in situations like this, where you have military activity very close. You have military aircraft flying through, working with government officials. We are told, again, the helicopter involved, that Black Hawk, had 3 soldiers on board. Reports are out that there were no VIPs on board that, as there often can be.
Yeah, and this is just in also, we know that Maryland Governor Wes Moore, he has put out on X that the Department of Emergency Management in Maryland, which of course is part of the DMV here, has raised its Emergency Operations Center to enhanced status in support of this. He's closely monitoring updates and says that the state of Maryland, local authorities, they are all engaged in this response. Obviously, we see a big presence from D.C. emergency responders, and we saw Northern Virginia there as well.
And we saw that early on with Fairfax County getting involved in the process as well, but they've been deployed. I mean, it's a very fluid situation at this hour, but again, we are following this. DCA, again, closed until at least 5 a.m. tomorrow. You are watching continuous live coverage of a tragedy in the skies over Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia. It is 11 o'clock. You're watching Fox 5. Jim Lokay alongside Angie Goff and Kenneth Moten as we track this breaking news. And for those of you just tuning in at this hour, we can confirm American Airlines Flight 5342 with nonstop service from Wichita to Reagan National Airport collided with a military helicopter upon landing just before 9 o'clock this evening. The collision happening in the Potomac. The reaction, the response was swift, but at this hour, unfortunately, we cannot tell you if anybody survived the crash. We don't have any idea how many people were on board that plane. However, those planes are generally configured to carry about 70 people. This is video from EarthCam that we've been showing you all evening long, the moment of impact, and you can see it right there, right at the center of your screen there, as another plane takes off right above it.
Yeah, so there you go. Not the one on the right, but down towards the middle of your screen.
Yeah.
There you go. You can see it right there. Also, we mentioned that President Trump was briefed on the situation, and he has now since released a statement about what he says, quote, is a terrible accident that just took place at Reagan National Airport. May God bless their souls, he said in the statement. And he thanks first responders. He also said that he's going to provide more details as they arise. So we do know, in addition to this being a Black Hawk helicopter, Army officials say that 3 people were aboard that chopper, but the official could not confirm their status as of yet.
Just checking in terms of the planes that are being halted. The terminals are open. The planes, flights coming in have been halted. They're coming in from places like New York, Boston, Atlanta, Orlando, St. Louis, Houston, Chicago, Charlotte. So there are a lot of people at airports.
Well, I'm going to show people because I'm sure they're going to see it many, many times in the next day or two. And that is the crash, which has certain similarities to this one that occurred in a flight of Florida Airlines going from then National Airport to, I believe, Miami, but one of the Florida destinations. And it crashed into the Potomac in 1982. Now, I was on the last Florida airline plane that left Dallas at about 10 o'clock in the morning. This was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I kind of remember it really well. And then when I flew back the next day, the plane was still lodged between the bridge and the water.
Wow.
I guess we're ready to go here. And this,
Make it big.
well, let's just see what we got here first.
Well, I can make it big. Bottom right.
First, I want to take it back to the beginning.
You want to play this?
Well, I'm going to. This shows you the whole thing.
Why not play? I could send me this link. You want to play this? You want me to play this?
Yeah.
All right. Can you make it bigger?
I don't know. Let's see. I do think so, yes.
Thank you. Turn it up. We gotta make it louder. Or we'll make it louder, right?
Well, let me see if I can on here. Again, I think it works on there. Well, I guess that doesn't work either.
I got it.
You got it? Is it playing?
Yep.
I don't see it.
I got out of bed that morning, there was a blizzard going on. One of the heaviest storms that I remember in my years of living here. It stopped and it started and it stopped and it started. And I knew that I had to travel on business to Florida.
The Air Florida jetliner crashed into the Potomac River at 3:55 yesterday afternoon.
Plane just come dropping right out of the sky, right at you. And all I did was scream. Its nose was up, its tail was down, the tail section hit the bridge and went right off into the water.
I found myself immediately on the verge of blacking out, and I didn't expect to regain consciousness. That's me right there in the blue shirt, and Priscilla Tirado and Nikki Felch are there with me. I have both of them on an arm.
One of the survivors was on a bus waiting for an ambulance.
I had water coming into my mouth and my nose and my ears. It probably took 10 or 15, 20 seconds perhaps for us to float down to the bottom of the river and settle into the muck and mud down there. I found myself immediately on the verge of blacking out. I said a brief prayer, please God, take care of my son, today's his birthday, and I didn't expect to regain consciousness. I heard whoomp, whoomp, whoomp of a helicopter approaching us, and I knew somebody was on their way there. The helicopter dropped 2 lines down to us. I handed one of those ropes off to Nikki Felch, hoping that she'd be able to hold on to that and be towed separately, while I, in fact, took the other one, kind of did a half hitch around my body, and got an arm lock on Priscilla Tirado, who I knew would not be able to function by herself. They started to tow us away from the tail section toward the shore. We didn't go very far before Nikki lost her grip. And they didn't slow down. We kept going, and my God, I've lost her. At which point they towed me the rest of the way into the shore. And I watched them go back and get Priscilla. So at that point, I sort of let myself go into shock. Basically, I relaxed and realized I was going to have to trust the medicos. The next thing I remember was waking up in a hospital room.
A survivor of the Air Florida crash, Joseph Stiley, today told reporters of his recollections just before impact.
I was unconscious momentarily. It was the water that, I think, getting in the water that woke me up.
My left leg was shattered, my right leg was broken, my right arm was broken, all my fingers were broken. I was not in very good shape at that point. I got quite an education in the year or two thereafter of what it means to be a survivor. I saw some of the best and some of the worst of human people. And I also got some love from real people. And I've seen my children grow up and become parents and grandparents.
I'm just thinking about the 78 people that died out there that morning, or that afternoon actually. And their life ended right there, and I'm sitting here.
Were there was a long period of time in removing that airplane. A young man, I'm going to get his name now. Maybe you can get it for me. Who dove in the water and saved people in a frozen river, rescued some people, and a few days later, he was asked to come to the Congress for the State of the Union speech, which would have been Ronald Reagan's second State of the Union speech. And he was praised by the president for his extraordinarily brave activity. What you should know is that was the first time a president had invited a hero to be praised at the State of the Union, which has now become almost a regular feature and has expanded to like an Academy Award. I mean, they'll have sometimes 4 and 5 and 6. And of course, with Biden, it had become a bit of a DEI, right? But it began with 1, and it was just spur of the moment because either the president or Mike Deaver, I can't remember who, because Mike would arrange all of the events for President Reagan, along with Mrs. Reagan, said it would be very good thing to invite this young man to watch the State of the Union speech. So can you get that for me? Have you gotten his name? That's it, Lenny Skutnik. Lenny. It might be interesting to see, Stephen, what Lenny Skutnik is doing now. And I believe he was a government employee of some kind. That was it, Lenny Skutnik. Oh, stop this.
Well, he was a printing and distribution assistant for the Congressional Budget Office, but he is not that any longer.
Well, he's retired. I mean, so he is now he's now retired. Well, that would make sense. He's got to be at or past retirement age at this point.
He was born in Mississippi.
Any chance that they're explaining what he's doing now? Who did he work for? Well, this thing has sure let me down, I must say. All it says is unavailable windows. That doesn't do me any good. Unavailable windows.
They say he's CBO's most famous employee.
What?
He's CBO's most famous employee.
I would say that's right. So maybe we should cut out for the night. I don't think we're going to learn much more, but let's see if we can sum up what we know at this point. Okay, let's get the last report. My last report is 23 minutes ago, and it comes from NBC News, and then I have a CNN one of 24 minutes ago. So let's see what NBC News has to say.
Way to give a late go off of.
Well, let me go off this a little group of the latest report. An American Airlines regional jet collided midair with a helicopter near Reagan National Airport. One or both of the aircraft may be in the Potomac, according to a source with knowledge of the situation. We know one is. Do we know both are? No, I didn't. I am not sure that both went in from what I saw. I saw the big one go in. I didn't see anything else go in. Now it could have easily been obscured by the bigger one. A search and rescue operation is underway. American Eagle Flight 5342, which was coming from Wichita and carrying 60 passengers and 4 crew members, was one of the aircraft involved. The helicopter involved in the crash was an Army Black Hawk, according to a defense official. An Army official said preliminary indications was that there were 3 people on board. It was described as having pretty good visibility, but not superior visibility. Windows above, below, and to both sides of the crew give Black Hawk pilots near panoramic visibility that's far superior to a big jet. You can virtually have pretty good visibility, so it's quite surprising that you can have this happening. This comes from Tammy Duckworth, an Army veteran and former Black Hawk pilot. She said it's far too early to draw any conclusions. This airspace is very, very busy, which is true. And we're praying that there are more survivors. Now, I can't specifically recall a crash there. I do recall the 82, a crash between 2 aircraft. I do recall an aircraft that faltered and went into the Potomac. But so the idea that it's very constricted airspace, which I've always heard, don't know how many crashes that has between aircraft that has caused. I do recall reports of some real close near misses. The Army confirmed tonight that the aircraft, the helicopter involved with a Black Hawk, we can confirm that the aircraft involved in tonight's incident was an Army UH-60 helicopter out of Fort Belvoir, Virginia. We're working with local officials and will provide additional information once it becomes available. President Donald Trump said in a statement, "May God bless their souls." He thanked the first responders and said he would provide any details as soon as possible. It is confirmed again that there were 3 people on board the Black Hawk. NTSB has already begun investigating. Of course, they're the agency, the National Traffic Safety Bureau, or board. That's their prime responsibility. 1982, that plane crash killed 78 and led to safety changes. Representative Eric Swalwell, and we will make no comments on this, said he was on a flight from Houston that landed at Reagan just minutes before the crash. I landed at DCA at 8:42, minutes before an in-flight collision over the airport. My thoughts are with all involved and hoping that first responders find survivors. Transportation Secretary just newly confirmed, possibly yesterday, said on X that he is at FAA headquarters and is monitoring the situation. That is a much quicker response than we're used to from a transportation secretary. Little Petey used to usually check in about a week later. Duffy, a former U.S. representative and veteran of the military, by the way, and a former district attorney, was confirmed by the Senate yesterday. Quite a beginning to his job, huh, Ted? Right. But an enormously capable man, a very diligent man, and the complete opposite of Little Petey, who most of these situations, you couldn't find him for a few days. Right. 5 seats were empty on the plane. And the temperature is 35 degrees as of the time of the flight. Pete Hegseth is actually monitoring it for any military assistance that is necessary. And the FBI immediately said there's no indication of any criminality or terrorism in the crash. Of course, they wouldn't know that. But they love to say that immediately so that the pressure is taken off them. You cannot prove a negative without investigating. And now this one is not as suspicious as, like, for example, the second attempt on Trump, where they immediately said that they could rule out definitively any other person being involved because they hadn't investigated at all. And if the FBI doesn't learn to keep its mouth shut, nobody's going to believe anything they say. So I guess we'll see by tomorrow, Ted. I guess we'll see by tomorrow if there are other. I think we've looked at all the videos. We've looked at anything that's currently available. And I mean, it's quite possible that during the night, and they'll be working all night, obviously. This is not like the way they counted votes in 2020, that they stop at 11 o'clock at night. This is going to go right through the night. If they operate the way we did in New York, there'll be another group of firefighters, police officers, rescue workers that relieve this group. If they haven't done that already, the water temperature is such that they are saying you've got about 12 minutes before you get close to dying. So if people are going to live, they've already been removed. Very, very sparse information, which is a little unusual. At this point, you'd normally get information about how many were taken to local hospitals. I'm surprised that isn't the case. And frankly, I don't know. One of the important things in a situation like this is to have an incident commander, and I don't know who the incident commander is. And that's the office that should be giving you the most comprehensive and have the most comprehensive information. But we'll keep working on who the incident commander is. I can't say there isn't one. All I can say is, in all the searching we've done, we haven't found an incident commander. There is one here. Representative Don Bayer, Democrat, Virginia, who represents the area where National Airport is located, said on X, I am following the response to a reported aviation incident at DCA and am in touch. I notice he refers to it as DC Airport. The official name, Congressman Bayer, is Reagan Airport. Sorry. How would you like it if I referred to Kennedy Airport as, what the heck did it used to be? Idlewild. I mean, these guys are such jerks. I am following the response to a reported aviation incident at DCA. What the hell is DCA? Some small airport in the District of Columbia? I'm sorry, at a time like this, I find this kind of cheap little silliness a reason why Don Beyer should not be a congressman. And I'm in touch with airport officials. I'm sure he's very helpful. Just what they need to talk to a guy that doesn't know the name of the airport. As we try to learn about what happened and why, how about you tell him last? This is obviously very worrying. Oh, that's very helpful. Oh, you're worried. But I urge the community to please let first responders do their jobs and save lives. What is the community going to interfere? That's about the most useless, idiotic statement I've ever heard, including not knowing the name of the airport. Well, anything you'd like to add, Ted?
Well, it's an area a lot of us know well, very familiar with that airspace, coming in and out of Reagan. I've lived next to the airport. I used to love watching the planes coming in and out.
Yep.
And it's very busy airspace. And when you have those helicopters coming across, whether it's to go to the Pentagon or other areas, it's just a very busy airspace. And so obviously we're thinking of all involved and thankful for the rescue workers and first responders who seem to
God bless them.
immediately just run to the scene. That water's got to be cold. And just wishing everyone the best here.
Potentially fatal. And you've got 10 minutes, but it seems like 10 minutes is a long time. 10 minutes is not a long time to search an airplane and get people out. And then you got to make a choice after 10 or 12 minutes. How much more are you going to stay there and how much more are you going to risk your life? And are there people that can survive beyond what is the usual period of time? I'm not sure it's 10 or 12. I thought I heard that, but let's assume it is.
Right.
There will be a period of time in which you die from frost and freezing.
Right.
And as we all know in the whole debate over climate change, cold kills 3 times more than heat. So if you were in a similar situation with a tremendous amount of heat, you'd have 3 times more time to survive. I assume the rescue workers are dressed in gear that will extend that time significantly. If they're not, then you got a Los Angeles situation. That's been available for 50 years. So they can continue to search. The point we're at now is, unless there's a miracle of some kind, that they have saved everyone who can be saved by now, which is a heck of a thing to think about. So let's pray to God that they did save everyone. And let's pray to God for those that they might not have saved, that he take care of them on their entry into paradise. And mostly the people who are going to need God's help now and yours are the survivors, the surviving family, the survivors who will be in shock, and the surviving families that will equally be in shock, both for the 3 occupants of the Sikorsky military helicopter and the 60, we don't have an exact number, the 60 or so occupants and 4 crew members of the American Airlines regional flight. Hard to explain these. Of course, none of us knows why, except to say it's all in the mind and heart of God, and it'll work out somehow. So pray for them and pray for a continued safe recovery effort, and pray for the rescue workers, all of whom are risking their lives to do this. And just say to yourself, gee, how remarkable are they? So we'll be back tomorrow night. By then, I should hope you'd have quite a bit more information about this. And And let's really hope for a miracle that everyone, or as many as possible, survived. God bless all of them, all of their families. And as we always say, of course, God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able